management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Women's March Monday all across the country. You know, welcome to the big show, Fancy Brian.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Don't know where to start. You know, there's
a lot of things that happen. A lot of stuff on the plate.
The interwebs is suddenly broken. Facebook is offline.
Worldwide.
How do people exist without Facebook?
I don't know. Civilization might end as we know it.
Now, do you big user of the Facebook, Fancy Brian?
I do. I'm not a huge user of it. I'm not like have to, but it's a where I get a feel for the pulse of the people that kind of listen to me, as well as Facebook likes to antagonizing me with friends that, you know, say stupid things that I can't help but say things about. But, you know, stuff like that. It's funny how I fight with the algorithm, and I know I should just stop and just move on or snooze somebody. But, I fight. It's fine.
You like the divisiveness created by the social media.
I don't like the divisiveness.
You just like trolling.
I like anti-trolling.
Anti-trolling.
So
let's clarify.
Okay, so for example, Daniel Bice likes to put a lot of things on Facebook.
Daniel Bice, a journalist from here in Wisconsin.
That's correct.
Journal Sentinel.
Yeah, and I'm
sort of a page 6 journalist.
Yeah, and he's been doing a lot of financial stuff lately. But anyway, he has on his page, he releases his articles and people read them or whatever. And I keep finding it kept popping up for a while because Keith Best kept popping up, and big giant
Keith
ugly
Best.
Keith Best. He ran the Waukesha Republican Party.
He's got a history of sort of racially tweeting on behalf of his bosses.
Yeah, twice fired from it. Twice or 3 times fired. I don't know. It's
once, twice, 3 times a lady.
The guy hasn't learned his lesson. Probably shouldn't tweet stupid things. Moving on. I enjoy trolling the guy on Facebook by bringing up all of his failures whenever he says anything.
That's not anti-trolling. That's still trolling.
No, I'm trolling trolls.
Oh, but he is a troll.
He's a troll. He says things just to like he's one of those people that instead of a cogent thought, he'll say meme, or instead of once you say, well, what do you think? He'll go, well, Democrats are all stupid and dumb, and then you go, well, you're not having a conversation, so I might as well just troll you and move on. So yeah, I use Facebook. Sharpening wits type of thing. And also I've reached a couple of friends of mine from the other side that, come to a more, all right, are you really an idiot or are you just, okay. You're not an idiot. We're friends still.
If you have sharpened wits on Facebook, you might be the only one.
Maybe.
I feel like people dull their brains.
There's definitely oh my God, you can go down rabbit holes left and right. It's hard because I can understand why people like continue. The next thing is going to be awesome. I know the next thing is going to be great. This next thing that's going to pop up on this algorithm is going to show me. I hate that. Oh my God, I got to go down here and tell everybody how much I hate. Why am I telling somebody that's never going to read it how much I hate it? Because somebody might like my comment a couple times. This is insane. I'm just going to put this down and go and talk to my daughter again.
I never post on Facebook. Now I do post on Facebook in terms of the show.
Yeah. You interact that way in a professional way for sure.
We share content. It's a business thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of Crudy putting out Crudy's personal life, it's not like I'm keeping secrets here. I tell you about it on the radio occasionally. But to put out the first day of school thing, I leave that for Mrs. Crudy. She'll share some of that.
I sometimes do that, and I got caught.
Personal
I got caught in between. Doing the thing, like sharing it as professional as well as my family's on there as well. That type of thing.
See, I don't like. If it weren't for my job, I would never go on Facebook.
Yeah, I would have given it up a long time ago had I not gotten into this for the job.
Come on, man, you're still into the anti-trolling efforts.
Yeah, but I also enjoy. I've been enjoying doing other things and people talking crap about. I've been sharing Aaron Rodgers memes. That's fun, and seeing how he looks like the dude from Fargo that ended up in the wood chipper.
Well, I didn't want to talk about this whatsoever, at least not now.
Well, it's Facebook, so it gets you going. You're down a rabbit hole already, buddy.
It's really good if it makes you angry. Do you see the 60 Minutes? They had the whistleblower on last night.
I did not see it, but I heard about that.
Night. Because the Packers were a CBS game.
What?
Packers.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they came on. It came right on. Right
I often seek out the 60 Minutes, but in the case where it's already
my
readily available because I was watching the channel, that's even better.
My relationship with 60 Minutes is that it sometimes has to be delayed because of the football games, which means it sometimes gets in the way of Big Brother. And now Big Brother is over, so I don't have to worry about it.
I was just happy it wasn't Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Yeah, they did a poll once, just really quick, at both home teams, Green Bay and Dallas. And they asked who Joe Buck was rooting for, and both of them said the other team. Same game.
Let me share a little bit of this story. CNN reporting this about the whistleblower. And if you didn't watch the 60 Minutes last night, a Facebook employee went on 60 Minutes, and apparently she brought thousands, millions of documents and tried to turn them over, tried to create something of a legal safe harbor, if I understood the reporting. And effectively, she wants a whistleblower status. But let me read a little bit from CNN's reporting on this. The identity of the Facebook whistleblower who released tens of thousands of pages of internal research and documents leading to a firestorm for the social media company in recent weeks was revealed on 60 Minutes Sunday night as Frances Hogan. Who? Frances Hogan, the 37-year-old former Facebook product manager who worked on civic integrity issues at the company, says the documents show that Facebook knows its platforms are used to spread hate, violence, and misinformation, and that the company has tried to hide that evidence. Here's a quote from her. The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interest, like making more money. Yeah, it was really all about making money, according to Hogan. 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley quoted one internal Facebook document as saying, again, this is a quote, "We have evidence from a variety of sources that hate speech, divisive political speech, and misinformation on Facebook and the family of apps are affecting societies around the world." About a month ago, Hogan filed at least 8 complaints with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. And I'm thinking, why there? Well, because that's where the federal safe harbor exists for a whistleblower. Apparently, she filed at least 8 complaints with the SEC, alleging the company is hiding research about its shortcomings from investors and the public. She also shared documents with the Wall Street Journal, which published a multi-part investigation showing that Facebook was aware of the problems with its apps, including the negative effects of misinformation and the harm caused, especially to young girls by Instagram. Hogan, who started at Facebook in 2019 after previously working for other tech giants like Google and Pinterest, is set to testify tomorrow before the Senate Subcommittee on Consumer Protection, Product Safety, and Data Security. I found her very clear speaking, Fancy Brian. We might bring some sound of the testimony tomorrow. Here's one more quote, maybe 2, from last night's 60 Minutes. I've seen a bunch of social networks, and it was substantially worse at Facebook than anything I've seen before. At some point in 2021, I realized I'm going to have to do this in a systematic way, that I'm going to have to get enough out documents that no one can question that this is real. Facebook has aggressively pushed back against the reports, calling many of the claims misleading and arguing that its apps do more good than harm, ? That's my insertion. Every day, our teams have to balance protecting the ability of billions of people to express themselves openly with the need to keep our platform safe and a positive place. Facebook spokespeople say, we continue to make significant improvements to tackle the spread of misinformation and harmful content. Do they? To suggest we encourage bad content and do nothing is just not true. But on this interview last night, Fancy Brian, this whistleblower, Hogan, basically said, that was fine for a period before the election. And then immediately after the election, they turned it all off, all the safeguards, all the
we don't have to worry about that now.
To algorithms. Well, what happened, let's say 2 months after the election didn't go the way Trump would have wanted? You remember right around January 6th, U.S. Capitol?
I feel like they communicated a lot on the WhatsApp.
Well, I feel like you're probably right. So anyways, that's not where I thought we'd start today, but I wonder if this is some sort of malicious attack. Maybe, who are the hacker sorts? You know who I'm talking about? Anonymous. Could this possibly be anonymous?
I don't know. Anybody who's waiting for
Facebook,
Anonymous
some
to
sort
do
of
something.
retribution.
Anyone waiting for Anonymous to do something, I don't know, is going to be waiting for a while. They had plenty of chances to do a lot of things, and I don't think they have yet. I don't know if they're just waiting for something or whatever, or maybe it's not the same thing.
Here's my question. 844-967-2789. Not just asking you, Fancy Brian, asking the audience. Is Facebook wrecking the world? I mean, is it literally wrecking the world? Is it destroying stuff? Is it making the world a substantially worse place to live in? And it's not just misinformation, but certainly that breeds on Facebook. The more politically divisive something is, the farther it travels, the faster it goes, and the more engaged the users of Facebook are. And all Facebook really wants you to do is continue engaging with Facebook, especially the ads they're pushing to you, directing to you, because that's how they make their money, right?
This is why Joe Buck continues to, do really popular games, because everybody is mad at him and they want to tune back in to go and be really pissed off at him.
You think Fox Sports is just succeeding with hatred for Joe Buck?
Yes, that's why they still have that damn Megatron thing on too. Stupid robot football player guy.
Well, at least the Packers won. My beloved Badgers, God, they laid back. Terrible. Got crushed by Michigan. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. What are you going to do? You can't Facebook. It's down.
Or it also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay?
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org, and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here. So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
Welcome back. the Devil's Advocate Radio Show, a Monday edition. Phone lines, they're open for your phone calls. 844-967-2789. Facebook's down. Apparently, I watched the whistleblower report on 60 Minutes last night. It wasn't shocking, but it is troubling to know that Facebook will move misinformation for enough cash. I mean, that's kind of their business model. And the more angry it makes you, the more engaged you are with those divisive posts, that misinformation, well, the more money they make on your ass.
I don't know why anybody's shocked about this. I mean, you know, the origins of Facebook, the oranges of Facebook, was to basically just judge the value of women and how attractive they were, just to get back at an ex-girlfriend. So when you were listing off all the problems that people had with Facebook, including Instagram and completely demoralizing young teenage girls, that's pretty much on brand for Facebook. I don't know why anyone's surprised.
I cannot reach Facebook at this moment.
Nobody can. Worldwide.
Facebook is down. And you push me when I suggest it could be anonymous. Here's a story, and it's not exactly directly related, but pay attention. Hackers exposed Texas GOP's sensitive documents and dark memes in wake of abortion law. According to the Raw story, John Wright reporting, this new reporting out, the hacker group Anonymous has released a new trove of data obtained from Epic, EPIK, the domain hosting website that has been synonymous with the far-right groups and causes. The latest data released today reportedly contains a backup of the Texas Republican Party server and includes, let's call them sensitive documents, a database, and more. Wait, there's more. According to journalist Stephen Monticelli, in a news release accompanying the data posted on Twitter by Monticelli, Anonymous wrote that it seems the Texas GOP lost their backups. Anonymous is generously including one complete with all their private documents, database, draft articles that didn't make the narrative cut, dark memes, and only Raptor Jesus knows what else. I'm not sure what that allusion is to. It's time to reclaim this series of tubes from Nazi scum. It's clear the feds aren't going to do it. Save the children from Q, the release states, in apparent reference to the QAnon conspiracy group. The Daily Dot notes that the Texas GOP website has been defaced by Anonymous in retaliation for the state's controversial abortion ban on September 11th. The Anonymous news release encourages people to keep messing with anti-choice states, adding that abortion is a human right. And Monday's release of data represents part 3 of what Anonymous has dubbed Operation Epic with a K fail, all caps. And what extremism researchers have referred to as the Rosetta Stone of the far right. The leaks have continued to cause widespread fallout for Epic customers, again with the K, which includes websites such as Parler, Gab, 8chan, and the Donald. There's a Donald social media site.
Hey man, what are you doing? I'm gonna go hang out and talk on the Donald.
I thought he pulled his social media more of a sort of a, what was it? It was like a blog posting page for Trump.
Oh, great.
I thought he pulled that down.
It's probably like every time you go there, you probably get infected with 1,000 viruses. It doesn't matter.
It remains unclear what fallout will result from the third release as journalists and researchers struggle to sift through the enormous amounts of information already present in the previous 2 leaks. It's too much bad stuff. Give the journalists time. They got to sort through it. But Anonymous is still out there actively hacking, as I would point out, Fancy Brian. You dismiss the.
I was hoping for more.
Don't draw their wrath upon us.
And I'm not trying to. I look. I haven't done anything to piss off Anonymous. I'm not worried about that. And if Anonymous has time to go and deal with me because I said something that was disparaging towards them, possibly not getting things done fast enough, then they definitely have time to go and get things done faster. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to go and worry about me or us, then I mean, come on, dude.
844-967-2789. Let's go to the phones. Catherine from Madison, you're the first today. Welcome, Catherine. What do you got for us?
Hi. Well, I've been researching this morning a little bit. So if you want to find comments by geeks and the text reasons for it, you go to ARSTECN. No, EC. Okay. ART. I'm just
nobody's going there, Catherine. Don't even bother doing the homework. So there are sort of technical explanations being offered.
There's technical things. The second thing is there's a VIP list at Facebook where people are allowed to say whatever they want. We gave up as grassroots activists a long time ago reporting the last president because they never were going to do it, and there are dozens and dozens of other people on this list. The third thing is they're setting the foundation right now to interfere with the next election. And the way they're doing it is they have bought off bloggers. There's one blog, I can't remember the name of it right now, that's set out of the Middle East, Dubai, I think it was, and the United States, and it has, quote unquote, a woman running it. Out of these blogs come all these fun questions about who was your first whatever. Some of the blogs are to try to hack. So if you do stupid things like have your real birth date on Facebook, that's one entree, and then you answer these other questions. National Sons Day, National Daughters Day, all this is part of it. All the people I know who are supposed to be intelligent have been answering these fun questions. Once you answer the fun questions, they've got a way into your list of friends. And so now people who answered questions in June and July, and they've gotten to me, they're sending me the question with the name of the site and the fun questions I'm going to answer and telling me who on my friend list has answered this question. This is out of the Eastern European countries. There's 2 countries they mentioned in one of the articles. If I'll go get the websites and I will put them in an email to you at Devil's Advocate. You need to take a look at some of these things.
That'd
and
be
the
awesome.
Stuff is not that technical.
Catherine, may I ask you one quick question? Who was your first dog? What was your first dog's name?
Well, I've taken to lying on all those questions, no matter where they're at.
Well, don't say Republicans didn't teach us anything. They taught us to lie. I appreciate your information, Catherine. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
If I were to guess, I have one name in mind. Anonymous, really anonymous.
Talk radio made for the 99% on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Hey, I'm Noemi.
And I am Cecily. We are the directors of In Pursuit of Sunshine, a youth organization in Madison hosting October's month of action to combat climate change.
According to climate.gov, since 2009, atmospheric CO2 levels have been increasing by 2.3 parts per million per year.
If we fail to act, the delicate balance of systems that make our planet a safe place to live will be permanently damaged.
But we won't allow that to happen. When climate disasters strike, disadvantaged groups face a disproportionate loss of income, assets, and life. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Climate justice is the concept that climate change doesn't affect us all equally. Join us for a series of environmental justice events with Sierra Club's Wisconsin chapter starting on October 7th. Go to sierraclub.org to learn more about the event schedule.
Again, that's sierraclub.org for more information.
Keep listening every day of October to find more actions you can take to beat the stats and combat climate change.
Tune in tomorrow on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Donahue with an AP News Minute. Oil prices jumped after OPEC and allied oil-producing countries stayed with their gradual approach to restoring output slashed during the pandemic. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the government wants to make sure prices of oil and gas remain steady.
While we're not a member of OPEC, we're also taking a number of steps and have been to plan for, protect against rising prices here within the purview of what we have.
Meantime, there is an oil spill in Southern California. Captain Rebecca Orr is with the Coast Guard.
We know that there is oil ranging from Huntington Beach, and now we know as far down as Laguna. And likely continuing to move in a southerly direction based on the wind and the weather and the currents.
Records show the company that operates the pipeline suspected in the spill has been cited 72 times for safety and environmental violations that were severe enough that drilling had to be curtailed or stopped to fix the problem. I'm Ed Donahue.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Brian Kelly with your headlines. Over the weekend, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services reported that Wisconsin has passed the threshold of 8,000 COVID-19 deaths reported in the state since the beginning of the pandemic. Southeastern Wisconsin will not be home to an electric vehicle plant operated by Foxconn after the Taiwanese company announced at the end of last week that it will be partnering with a U.S. manufacturer in Ohio. Foxconn has yet to announce new plans for the Mount Pleasant location in southeastern Wisconsin. Today, cloudy with a high of 70, possible scattered showers. Tonight, more clouds with lows in the low 60s. Tomorrow, cloudy, highs in the low 70s. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You know, you don't even have to hack my AOL MySpace account. You know, all that has to happen, the computers update, and I'm pretty much shut out of my own computers. Even my Apple, right now, I can barely get on websites. Like half of them are blocked. There must be new certificates due on all the websites.
Or the passwords for them. Do you need passwords for them?
Even my own website. I don't even know what's going on today. I blame Facebook. I blame Mark Zuckerberg. You know, he tempted fate in the interwebs and the karma gods and all that kind of stuff. You can't cash the checks on hate speech. You can't cash the checks on misinformation and think it's not going to sooner or later catch up to you. And I don't know what's going on with the Facebook, why it shut down. I know nobody's streaming there because, you know, can't find my beautiful face there because the Facebook, I think, probably got hacked. Probably hacking, something of the sort.
The technical term, they're saying they're having a problem with their DNS server, which basically just means that it's trying to apply a bunch of names to things and they can't get to it. They basically lost their phone book and can't dial with anybody.
Well, you know, you always got to be careful when you accept the updates.
That wasn't an update accepting, but although I will tell you, when the world will end, it's going to be a Windows update. It's going to be more than Facebook, a Windows update, because that permeates your entire operating system for most of your stuff. And don't think because you're a Mac, I'm exempt from it, because Macs have updates too, and they kind of mess with a couple things here and there.
See my eyes glazing over. You started talking about computer stuff. I'm like,
Well, you could be a good partner and try and listen and pay attention, but you know, that's fine. We're on the air.
But
we are on the air.
Let's talk about something more exciting.
All right, I'm just saying.
Let's pick a more dynamic.
I'm just saying you better look out, because Windows 11 is coming in a couple days, and we're all going to be screwed because of it.
Is that like a super cash drawing? Windows 11?
Yes, it's a super cash drawing. You just be there, and
I don't buy tickets for that either.
Don't worry, give me your credit card. I will buy all the tickets for you.
I don't think you can buy them.
No, you can buy tickets at these things called Best Buy. It's a place called Target. There's a place called Home Depot. A lot of things they may show up as, like, the tickets may show up as things like, you know, TVs and a bunch of things that I put in my house, but instead it's totally tickets for this lottery that's on tomorrow. See, he's nodding. It's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen.
I'm
going on a spree. I'm going on a spree.
Well, I'm just wondering if I can get back to the political headlines.
Okay,
let's try. Here's where I wanted to start the show. Women's March all across the country. I didn't see a lot of coverage. I got to be very honest with you. This year, the 2021 edition of the Women's March, well, the woman in charge of my life said we're going to the camper. So I did what I was told. I was a good soldier. I was camping on Saturday, and I was not at a women's march, not here locally. I would love to hear from anyone that did attend their local women's march, 844-967-2789. But I can tell you, Fancy Brian, it was one of the most inspirational, and I'm talking about the big one in 2017 in DC. Now, the inauguration of Donald Trump was the day before. And I went to Trump's inauguration, and don't ask me why, but we had tickets. And our Republican U.S. Senator gave us tickets and actually kind of showed us a good time at the U.S. Senate building and took us down to the media center. They got a very nice media center there in the U.S. Senate building. You know, if you ever want to interview one of the senator sorts, well, they got the stuff, the good stuff. So anyways, that was kind of cool. And, you know, other than the fact we were hanging out with Ron Johnson, it was kind of cool. And then we got his tickets and, you know, we got the good seats up close, up near the Capitol, actual seats, you know, like chairs, folding chairs on a ground. So, you know, it's going to sink on one side. But anyways, at least we had chairs. And, you know, a few raindrops, you know, despite the controversy over whether or not it rained during the Trump inauguration. You know, there were a few scattered mistings. And apparently that's all the inspiration my little buddy needed to declare, hey, man, let's get out of here. Let's go find a bar.
It's a sign.
Let's beat the crowd. I think I felt a raindrop. But, you know, it was being blared. You could hear it for miles and miles, the Trump speech. Very pleasant speech. Yeah, I mentioned he declared the American dream was dead in that speech. So, you know, kind of uplifting, kind of
things to look forward to.
Warm the cockles. And I was looking and I looked around in the crowd and people were actively arguing. There was, you know, like consternation going on. People challenging other people in the crowd.
We're the biggest crowd. No, you're the biggest crowd. There's not the biggest crowd.
Well, I told you my big highlight. I walked in with the bounty hunter. That guy.
He's out hunting for that guy who killed his wife now.
Yeah, here he is. But, you know, he was at the inauguration and we took a selfie and a little video. Talked to us, said hi, friendly enough guy. So, you know, that was my brush with celebrity, if you will. And then we went to the Trump inauguration. And then we went to a cool bar in DC. But we were there and we stayed an additional day. I paid extra for the airline tickets back. Because if you flew out the day immediately after the Trump occasion, it was a lot cheaper. But if you stayed for the Women's March, well, the airline travel went up significantly. Apparently, a few more people plan to attend the latter event. So I was at the Women's March, and I've never seen so many knit pink hats. It's like a cottage industry sprung up out of nowhere. You know what I'm talking about? The pink hats?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had a pink hat.
I know someone who was making them and making a fair, decent profit off of them.
Well, everyone had a pink hat. Not I. You know, I was not wearing a pink hat. I wore a suit that day. I don't know what I was thinking. Walking around DC sweating in a suit.
Sweating in a suit and everybody looking at you. You're.
Well, it was like February. It wasn't supposed to be warm, was it? You know, I thought it'd be cooler. The day before it was pretty cool at Trump's inauguration. But, you know, in that crowd of 1 million plus at the Women's March, kind of stuffy. I got to tell you, the suit was a bit too much. So anyways, I was warm. But I was heartwarmed by the number of people. And it was supposed to be, you know, sort of a parade of sorts after the speaking. And the parade route was sort of overwhelmed by the sheer massive humanity. And it was the coolest political occasion I've ever been to. And I've never seen so many engaged human beings, so many people there. And just, you could tell so many first timers, so many people that had been to 1 million different protests, but this one somehow seemed more significant to them. And it was the first sort of gut reaction to Donald Trump. And I'm not sure if people still have that same sort of visceral reaction to Donald Trump and fascism that they did right immediately after, you know, his first victory.
And let's remember, this was already planned. Like, this was planned before we knew the results of the election. Like, this had been planned.
Well, a lot of people came thinking they were going to attend Hillary Clinton's inauguration.
Exactly.
The
That's
party
that's
thereof.
my point. This wasn't designed to protest Donald Trump, but once
Worked out that way.
because it worked out that way, it turned out to be we were supposed to have a celebration. Now we're having a revolution, as it were.
Well, Fancy Brian, there was another series of Women's March over the course of the weekend. I want to play some of the sound from that. Fancy Brian, going to need your help, obviously. If you'd be so kind, let's start with the organizer. My understanding, her name is Cristela Alonso. She's an activist and a comedian, and she was sort of the master of ceremonies at the DC event that happened over the weekend. But Texas was certainly in their sights a lot. Let's start with Cristela Alonso. Cut 35, please.
I gotta say, I love my home state, but that is why I'm here today. I love my home state of Texas so much that I am willing to fight for what is best for the people in it.
More from Cristela Alonso. Cut 36, please.
Growing up, one of the mottos you hear about my home state is don't mess with Texas. Well, guess what, Texas? We're here because we have to mess with you.
Because we have to. Yeah, I mean, someone's kind of forcing women's hands in this matter. Greg Abbott's played a part. All the Republicans played a part. The U.S. Supreme Court, of course, has played a part as well. More from Cristela Alonso. Cut 37, please, Brian.
My home state of Texas recently passed a law that prohibits abortions as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy.
Well, I wouldn't call that progress, and I don't think Miss Alonso would either. Cut 38, please.
Lawmakers are working on doing the exact opposite by creating legislation that not only takes away our choices, but can take away our lives.
Fancy Brian, we've also got sound. Alexis McGill Johnson. She is the president of Planned Parenthood. She is speaking at the Women's March again in DC. But she'll tell you it's not just Texas. Cut 40, please.
This year alone, we have seen nearly 600 restrictions introduced in 47 states.
More from Alexis McGill Johnson, Planned Parenthood. Cut 41, please.
No matter where you live, no matter where you are, this fight is at your doorstep right now.
One more from her. Cut 42, please.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but abortion is healthcare. Basic healthcare, essential healthcare, healthcare that cannot wait.
Now, I'm not sure how large the crowd in DC was. I've seen thousands, but thousands is a pretty broad term. Anyways, probably not as many as that marched in 2017, I suspect. But a large number assembled in Washington, D.C., and there were marches all around the nation. Here is New York Governor Kathy Hochul. She spoke at a women's march in New York. Cut number 60, please.
58% of women who are reproductive age live in states where they're trying to strip those rights away. That is a crime.
More from Governor Kathy Hochul, New York State. 61, please.
Don't mess with New York. We're fighting for our rights right here, and we'll protect the rest of you.
More from Governor Hochul. Cut 62, please.
I'm sick and tired of having to fight over abortion rights. It's settled law in the nation, and you are not taking that right away from us. Not now, not ever.
Again, Governor Kathy Hochul talking to a New York crowd and speaking in New York terms. 63, please.
Together, we'll send a message across this nation. You come to New York, we'll protect your abortion rights every single day of the week. We are leading into the state into the future, and we will be there for all of you across America.
And Governor Kathy Hochul promises they'll be rocking the pink. Cut 64, please.
Oh, you are just rocking the pink, my friends. You look awesome out there.
One final cut from the governor, cut 65, protect abortion rights.
While I'm still alive, as your first female governor ever in the state of New York, I will protect those rights.
Well, it's nice to see a female governor in a big state like New York. And, there were governors and there were mayors and there were thousands of women although I can't tell you precisely how many. A few more. Do we have time? Mayor of Houston, Texas, Sylvester Turner, cut 65 if there's time, Brian.
We already have some of the most restrictive bills in laws in the state of Texas. This is even worse. This is extreme. This is extreme.
Yeah, not shocking. People are turning out to march in Texas, cut 66.
The numbers will continue to grow because you just don't do that in the state of Texas.
And let's end this segment with cut 67. Mayor Sylvester Turner, Houston, Texas.
We're dealing with voter suppression bills. We're dealing with the attack on transgender youth. We're dealing now with the attack on women. There comes a time when Texas says no more.
The speech is reminiscent of 2017, but I would say there's perhaps new urgency. The U.S. Supreme Court open session. Today, oral arguments, they start hearing. And the Mississippi abortion bill that we've talked about, I guess it would be a law. It's a lawsuit currently, and it's coming up before the U.S. Supreme Court. And while the Texas law may not affect national policy, it certainly is a harbinger of what is to come. And I think this U.S. Supreme Court's going to, let's just say, disappoint a lot of women when they perhaps roll back Roe v. Wade. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, a Women's March Monday. Your calls are next if you dial 844-967-2789.
American women deserve better, and American women are here to.
Hey, Wisconsin, this is Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company. Usually, I promote my progressive beer on this station, but today I wanted to promote these guys at Devil Radio. Devil Radio is the only progressive talk station in the state, and there are no less than 81 conservative talk stations in Wisconsin that spew crazy Trump cult rhetoric. While the Republicans have big pockets to fund these stations and manipulate Wisconsinites to vote against their own interests, Democrats have to rely on grassroots donations to get their message out. So I'm asking you to donate some money to these guys and keep them on the air. And I'm asking you to do it in September because every dollar you donate this month will be matched by an anonymous donor that cares about making Wisconsin a democracy again and knows that this radio station helps with that mission. So please donate today at devilradio927.com at the Support Devil Radio tab. Again, send some big bucks to devilradio927.com at the Support Devil Radio tab.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates. The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. A new Women's March, a Women's March 2021 occurred over the course of the weekend. Love to hear from you. If you went out marching, if you were out there protesting, I was at the big one in DC in 2017. Did not participate or observe any of the marches this weekend. So, your firsthand accounts would be appreciated at 844-967-2789. But we've got some other intriguing women, and we'd like to share a little more of the sound. Speeches went on in a lot of different cities all across the nation. We're going to give you a little taste of this if we could. Fancy Brian, I think we're going to jump back in here with cut number 45. This was at the Women's March in Cleveland. And this woman, Megan, is her name. I believe is describing her own experience with an abortion. Cut number 45, Brian, if you would.
Having an abortion was one of the most difficult choices I've ever made in my life. Fortunately, I was able to make that choice on my own without interference from anyone.
More from this woman, Megan, her name, cut 46, please.
They do not have the freedom to control their bodies and make those decisions that will affect them for the rest of their lives.
Megan mentions her own daughters, cut 47.
I was able to make an appointment in the women's health clinic and get the health care and support that I needed. I had control over my body and the ability to make reproductive decisions at that time in my life. Unfortunately, my daughters today do not have that choice.
Megan, one more from her. She was at the Cleveland Women's March over the course of the weekend. Cut 48, please.
This is not a surprise. This is not a secret. Abortion access has been systematically under attack in this country for decades. It is beyond time for abortion to be secured legally.
It is beyond time for abortion to be secured legally. I can't believe we're having this conversation in 2021 and the U.S. Supreme Court, again, having oral arguments to consider rolling back Roe v. Wade. It's more than just this outrage of a 6-week ban in Texas. It is the specter of a more impactful rolling back of Roe v. Wade nationwide. And it's probably coming forward. 844-967-2789. Another round of sound bites. This one, Dr. Jamila Parrott. My understanding is she is the president's physician for reproductive health. She spoke at the DC Women's March and encouraged healthcare providers to unite. Cut number 50, please.
Thankfully, providers of abortion care in surrounding states have opened their doors to patients who are now forced to travel out of state to get their essential care, if they have the resources to travel at all.
Dr. Jamila Parent, again, in DC, talking about these are scary times. Cut 51, please.
This moment is truly frightening.
One more from her, cut 52.
Just over 1 month ago, our friends, families, our comrades in Texas had access to abortion change overnight.
Yeah, it was pretty rapid in Texas. It certainly was rapid. And the fact that the U.S. Supreme Court had no qualms allowing that law to take effect, that's what was most troubling of all. It was in direct contrast to Roe v. Wade. It was in direct contrast to what the current law on the books is. And I certainly understand this law is under consideration, will be in this session of the U.S. Supreme Court. But what I don't understand is why they were so willing to let this vigilante-led effort to end abortion and reproductive rights in Texas. I'm not clear why the U.S. Supreme Court allowed this to go into effect. Fancy Brian, I know we've got a few more of the women that spoke around the nation, sort of a potpourri, if you will. Let's start at cut number 80. These are a number of different speakers, some in Chicago. I guess this is primarily Chicago-based speakers. Panchita Moore talking about a grandson. Cut 80, please.
He's going to grow up. He's going to be a young man. And it's important to understand that everybody has rights.
Jillian Schranz, again, also at the Chicago Women's March over the course of the weekend, talking about healthcare. Cut 81.
Abortion is healthcare. We need to be able to make our own choices and have the freedom to do that safely.
Let's keep going, Fancy Brian. This next speaker is Mariana DeMarco, again in Chicago, talking about her body. Cut 82, please.
It's her body. Nobody else needs to make decisions about a woman's body except herself.
Marge Halprin, also in Chicago, cut 83.
It's hard for those of us who lived through this in the 70s and fought for access to abortion for all of us to see these rights crumble all over again.
One more attendee at the Women's March in Chicago, her name, Dr. Amy Whitaker.
The people in Texas do not even have the basic protections that were granted in Roe v. Wade.
No, in direct contrast to Roe v. Wade. Let's go to the phones while there's time in this segment. 844-967-2789. I'd like to hear from you if you attended a Women's March I suspect many in the audience supportive of the women's marches across the country. Carol from Heartland, welcome, Carol. What do you got for us?
Hi, I went to march in Heartland. We made a little one. It was about 40 people, 50 people.
Well, good.
And of course, there were some rude men making comments to us.
Really?
Which is, yep, I am not kidding.
And where were they? Did they like follow you around? Did they have counter protest signs, Carol? I mean, they got nothing better to do with their day than what are they?
That's right.
What are they basically protesting? Are they telling you should not have the right to abortion, or what was their major thrust? If you will,
I don't
Carol?
even think they knew exactly. They just knew that we didn't have a red hat on, and so they were against whatever we were doing in Heartland. It was much nicer in Madison. We went to that with my son and grandchildren in the afternoon, and we missed the actual march, but we did speakers at the Capitol, and I love Madison, so it was very nice.
Well, Madison is my hometown. There is a certain charm and appeal to this city, Carol, and it is politically active. Lots of great people out there marching in Madison, my hometown.
I got to tell you one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
My sister marched in Kansas City, and she also called the ABC affiliate for not even announcing anything about the Women's March in Kansas City, but they did have a good turnout down there too. So that's all.
Well, Carol, I'm glad you went to a couple different women's marches. I did not see a lot of press accounts. I wish we had more of your input on these big events over the course of the weekend. We'll take more of your phone calls. Hour 2 is next. Come back with us. 844-967-2789. If the boss, like I'm from Boston. If the boss is watching, you can text us. That same number works, except for you, George. 844-967-2789. Hope the boss doesn't have his eye on me.
Hey, who's the boss?
The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Nobody with the Jesus.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Hey, Dom, is your carpeting starting to have a little bit of a funk to it?
That's a bit of a personal question, Crudy.
No, I know this is really busy time for one of our sponsors, Zero Res of Madison. People want a cleaner, healthier home.
You mean spending the entire quarantine locked in with bacteria and allergens isn't healthy? Who knew?
You want to get it professionally cleaned well before it gets funky. Even if you vacuum frequently,
I vacuum a lot.
You still need to get it professionally cleaned. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
You're listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
P News. I'm Ed Donahue. It's one of the largest oil spills ever in California. Coast Guard Captain Rebecca Orr is monitoring the spill.
We know that there is oil ranging from Huntington Beach, and now we know as far down as Laguna, and likely continuing to move in a southerly direction based on the wind and the weather and the currents.
Records show the company that operates the pipeline suspected in the spill has been cited 72 times for safety and environmental violations that were severe enough that drilling had to be scaled back or stopped to fix the problem. President Biden says Republicans are playing Russian roulette by not supporting an attempt by Congress to raise the debt limit.
Quite frankly, it's hypocritical, dangerous, and disgraceful. Their obstruction and irresponsibility knows absolutely no bounds.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says if the debt limit isn't raised in 2 weeks, the nation could go into default. David Julius from the U.S. is one of the winners of the Nobel Prize in Medicine for new ways of treating pain.
The work that my lab's done, that Artem's lab done, really sort of provided the molecular tools
to really understand the sense of touch in detail.
Artem Potapuchian is the other Nobel recipient. Facebook and its Instagram and WhatsApp platforms are apparently down worldwide. The company is working to restore access. One person is in custody after someone opened fire aboard an Amtrak train in Tucson, Arizona. Police say a nurse at a Philadelphia hospital shot and killed his co-worker early today, fled the scene, and was shot in a gunfight with police. The Washington football team placed head athletic trainer Ryan Vermillion on administrative leave for what a club statement called an ongoing criminal investigation unrelated to the club. Jeff Bezos' space travel company Blue Origin announced Star Trek's Captain Kirk, 90-year-old William Shatner, will blast off from West Texas next week and would become the oldest person to go to space. This is AP News.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
At Crazy Lenny's E-Bikes, my store, we have solid e-bikes with 4 power levels, 7 speeds for just $844, or we have the best-selling e-bike designed for Madison bike trails, 5 power settings with throttle or center drive, 35-mile range, complete comfort, spring-loaded seats, soft front adjustable shocks, a $2,000 e-bike, $600 off, just $1,400.
The largest selection in North America, 200 e-bikes on display. I've seen them
at Crazy Lenny's E-Bikes.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Madison, you say what? Each weeknight from 5 to 6, don't miss out on a single day of the Earl Ingram Show right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM, 1580 AM.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Brian Kelly with your headlines. On Friday, former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman issued subpoenas to the election probe he is conducting into Wisconsin's 2020 presidential election. Subpoenas were issued to the director of the Wisconsin Elections Commission and election officials in Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Racine, and Kenosha. In the subpoena requests, the Gableman probe is requesting information about grants those municipalities received from the Center for Tech and Civic Life, despite more than 200 other communities around the state also receiving grant money from the nonprofit. Today, cloudy with a high of 70, possible scattered showers. Tonight, more clouds with lows in the low 60s, and tomorrow, cloudy, highs in the low 70s. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition. And people are hitting up the phone line at 844-967-2789. And they're hitting up the text line at 844-967-2789. Same number, kept it easy for guys like George. So George can cast shade and talk trash, always in sort of an anonymous texting sort of fashion.
Yeah, he never calls.
That's what makes the people so brave on Facebook and the social media platforms. You know, they're not really people there. They can just be rude bastards without any real consequence.
If he's said a lot of the things that I've seen him write down to anyone's face,
his mama would wash his mouth out with lava soap.
I'm not sure that would have helped, because it's probably something in his upbringing that led him to this situation where he's in right now. But yeah, someone may have corrected him in his, let's say, social mannerisms in the way that he speaks to people.
He should be a nicer human being.
I tried that for a while, and then it devolved.
Try sex, George. If you ever got laid, you'd be a much nicer human being.
Oh, I know.
I
know.
Here's one for George. A headline. I think this one was written for you, George. The GOP has become the stupid party, and proud of it.
Yay!
And this written by a conservative columnist over at the Washington Post, Max Boot. Is there a purer, more perfect expression of Trumpified Republican Party than the press release that said Rep. Lauren Boebert, you know, the shoot 'em up girl.
Yeah, the idiot.
The Republican from Colorado sent out on September 24th, ? It demanded that President Biden be removed from office for colluding with the Taliban. This was flagrantly hypocritical because in February, she criticized Biden for not withdrawing from Afghanistan fast enough. And then in August, she praised the Taliban for building back better. But what truly made the release so priceless and preposterous was the logo, Impeach Biden. Boebert is showing her contempt not just for political norms, but for spelling norms too. That's impeach with no P.
Impeach
Biden.
Yes. Good job.
No one should be surprised that Boebert, who has expressed support for the QAnon cult, as well as Biden's impeachment, is a rising star on the right. Former President Donald Trump's Twitter feed, back when he still had one, was rife with glaring misspellings as well as absurd lies. Some even suspected the misspellings were deliberate, intended to signal his contempt for eggheads who might care about such niceties. Well, grant you this, Trump. I'm not a great speller. Never really cared.
It's important. But anyway, by the way,
there. I've learned that one. I'm pretty good about that. I used to
the
be
one
sloppy.
that drives me lately insane is the loser misspelling. Loser has one O in it. If you're making it looser, then like righty tighty lefty loosey, then it's two O's.
Yeah.
It never happened until frickin' Trump became president. I promise you. I don't know how, but somehow loose and lose became the misspelling of. I've tutored for a long time. I've never come across that misspelling until the last 4 years. Drives me insane.
Mostly it's the loosers that misspell it.
Yes.
A little bit more here from the Max Boot piece. In the 1980s, when I became a Republican, according to Max Boot, the GOP took pride in describing itself as the party of ideas. But under Trump's leadership, Republicans have reclaimed their old reputation, dating back to the 1950s, as the stupid party. When even more telling, this is not a source of shame or embarrassment for the party's populists. They're the stupid and proud of it party. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi responded to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's criticism of a mask mandate by saying, he's such a moron. My brilliant colleague, Dana Milbank, carefully examined this charge and concluded it was mostly true. Yet McCarthy is a veritable brainiac compared to many of his GOP colleagues. On July 30th, Rep. Elise Stefanik praised Medicare and Medicaid for protecting the health care of millions of families and warned, to safeguard our future, we must reject socialist healthcare schemes. Somehow Republicans miss the obvious contradiction between defending Medicare and Medicaid and assailing socialized medicine. That Stefanik is a Harvard graduate suggests she might be only playing dumb to establish her populist bona fides. This is a charade perfected by Senator John Neely Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, a graduate of Vanderbilt, Oxford University, and the University of Virginia Law School, who pretends to be a country bumpkin. But it tells you something significant, that even the brightest lights of the GOP feel compelled to act as if they were dim bulbs. Is that an act? I mean, I know they might have the big diplomas and all, but are they acting? For some Republicans in Congress, of course, acting dumb comes more naturally than others. Take Rep. Louis Goldberg, please. He warns that the Green New Deal, which hasn't actually passed, is already ushering in an avian apocalypse. Birds that were killed by windmills, he said, are spontaneously combusting while flying over solar panels. He acts as if flamers, that's in quotes, flamers, yes, that's the term he uses, are actually a big thing. In fact, fossil fuel plants kill many more birds and people than solar arrays. Little wonder that Goldberg himself admitted people think he is the dumbest guy in Congress.
My God, I feel dumber every time he talks.
I got a few votes for the dumbest guy in Congress. We got a few here in Wisconsin. Looking at you, Glenn Grothman. Hold on. Hold my dunce cap, says Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She doesn't believe in evolution, but does believe in Jewish space lasers. Then there's Rep. Madison Cawthorn.
I don't believe in evolution. I believe in God.
Then there's Rep. Madison Cawthorn, who tweets that 1984 is a great fiction novel to read as opposed to the great nonfiction novel. I'm not even sure what that means. The COVID pandemic has brought forth a corresponding pandemic of right-wing inanity. Green and other Republicans have compared efforts to vaccinate Americans, i.e. to save lives, to Nazis' mass murder of Jews. Senator Ron Johnson, a personal favorite, said he would support vaccine mandates only if there's some incredibly dangerous disease. COVID-19, which has already killed at least 700,000 Americans,
8,000 in Wisconsin,
doesn't apparently qualify under Johnson's metrics. Johnson just introduced the Prevent Unconstitutional Vaccine Mandates for Interstate Commerce Act. This raises the obvious question, obvious that is to everyone but Rojo. If mandates are unconstitutional, why is legislation needed to stop them? Won't the courts overturn them? More egregious examples of Republican ignorance can be found in all the accusations that Democrats are turning America socialist. Here's a quote from Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're forcing their communism through corporations. Greene charges as if communist corporations weren't an oxymoron. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee warns that socialistic government won't allow women to be on stage or entertain. She has seemed to confuse the communists.
No, that's
with
your
the
Christian Taliban.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Senator Marco Rubio is upping the rhetorical ante. The $3.5 trillion Biden plan isn't socialism. It's Marxism, he tweets. By his logic, we should already have gulags in America since Trump added $7.8 trillion to the national debt. Now, Boot concludes his piece as thus. I wish I could report some sign the GOP is wising up. In fact, it is continuing to dumb itself down. Josh Mandel, who is seeking the GOP nomination for U.S. Senate in Ohio, recently tweeted, if you can't spell pandemic, D-E-M, sort of emphasize the D-E-M, without the D-E-M, is this a coincidence?
Well, you can't spell pubic rinse without Ryan's Priebus, but, that's a coincidence too. So
this is a level of reasoning that would seem more at home on an elementary school playground than on the floor of the Senate. But Mandel should fit right in with his Republican colleagues. if he is elected, they impeach themselves with every witless word.
Man, you know what? I got to tell you that it's pretty easy to shut up George when I have to. Going back full circle to the beginning of this, the thing I do is I ask him, okay, how does that work? Tell me specifically. Or what is your idea? That shuts him right up.
Benghazi's not
he lacks the ability to go and back up his own convictions. He can't explain why he says these things. He just says stuff or changes the subject whenever you say that. So whenever you come across somebody online, or let's say in life, if they're spouting something stupid like this, don't say, hey, that's stupid, and push back. Just say, okay, explain that more. Tell me how this works. Give me more specifics. How is a gulag happening right now, and where is it? Tell me specifically. How is socialism destroying all of us right now? Is it because we're paying our police and fire through our socialism? Or, oh, did you not know that? Like, what specific? And ask them for specifics. They always have none.
I take a differing tack usually. I don't actually ask them to, support any of their policies. I ask them really, dumb questions like, tell me something Trump accomplished. Like, what was his biggest accomplishment? Was it making Mexico pay for the wall? There are a litany of Trump accomplishments. I love when they say the tax cuts. I'm thinking, you're a working stiff. You didn't get a tax cut. You got a little break on your FICA SUTA that's going to bite you in the ass at the end of the year.
Yeah, you got to pay it back anyway.
Yeah, well, don't explain that to him. Leave that for his accountant. He gets to break the good news. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. I first met Trump in Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm going back this weekend to see Trump again. Sort of the circus coming back to town sort of a deal. The Iowa State Fairgrounds, I guess. Des Moines, Iowa, the seed. October 9th, Crudy takes Des Moines for like the fourth
Chasing your Joe Buck all across.
I don't have to worry so much about, tuning in for the Badger games these days. Just doesn't quite have the draw it used to. Come back with us. Hopefully this fine show has the same draw it always did. And your phone calls could be next. 844-967-2789.
But we have people that are stupid.
I want the record to reflect that I did not call Senator Sanders an ignorant slut.
We're like the stupid people.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
This isn't very nice, is it?
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Dad, can we make 200 cookies for my bake sale tomorrow?
Let's do this. Including checking nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With so much loss, you may feel like you can't handle it all. Meditation or other spiritual practices can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
The former president, the fact that he needed to drop a press release to call the horse a junkie.
The horse came from a broken home. I heard he was sold for like $1,000, born on a dirt patch. Then the pressure, the constant, the training over and over. I mean, really not getting to have a normal childhood and grow up and hang out with their other little horsey friends. Then one of those days, walked down the wrong alley and first one's free. And after that, it was all downhill from there.
Dom, that's why they call it horse.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, talking about stupid Republicans. And yes, I do mean you, George, and others like you. You know, once upon a time, Hillary Clinton called you deplorable. You know, I know you guys took that as a compliment, but it wasn't really intended in such a fashion. And, you know, speaking of stupid Republicans, or at least stupid Republican-leaning media, the Foxy friends were back at it Monday morning again.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm sure they will shed some really awesome light on a lot of subjects.
Well, they kicked off the big week by attacking Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh, favorite target of theirs.
They're complaining, according to the Raw story, they're complaining the famous head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases is going to cancel Christmas. And they compare him to the Grinch. Yeah,
just
Tony
like they've
Fauci
done
is-
so many years until Trump became president. They canceled all of Christmas. Nobody could say Merry Christmas anymore, at least according to Eric Trump.
But I
we
think
can do it now.
I think Fauci is specifically going to cancel Christmas. Let me read a little of this article. When asked Sunday by CBS if Americans could safely gather for the holidays, Fauci had merely replied, "It's too soon to tell," which the GOP's propaganda arm, you know, quickly picked up and ran with. The three Foxy Friends co-hosts Monday morning claimed that Fauci, who also serves as the chief medical advisor to Joe Biden, is going to cancel Christmas. Nobody wants to work in the Cabbage Patch Factory, says Ducey, lamenting apparent parts and product shortages worldwide. So no wonder Dr. Fauci is about to cancel Christmas, says Kilmeade, sarcastically belly aching. We're not going to have any presents anyway, so it's going to really work out well.
Capitalism canceled Christmas. If you're talking about the factories not making stuff because they don't have workers, they don't have workers because they're not paying enough.
It's supply chain mostly, but somehow that's Biden's fault. Forget about Dr. Seuss with the Grinch, Ducey quipped, comparing the anti-Christmas children's character to Dr. Fauci. Kilmeade added, Dr. Seuss, he's not a real doctor, but he does seem smart, as Ainsley Earhart tossed in, and he was canceled. Of course, which is also fault.
What
a trifecta they make. Ducey, Kilmeade, and Ainsley Earhart.
So you watch South Park at least enough to know who Terrence and Phillip are?
Sure.
Basically, that's who I think of whenever I see Fox and Friends. I just think Terrence and Phillip. Oh, hello. Blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Oh, did Biden think Biden's the devil? Oh, my goodness. He said something wrong. He's going to kill us all. Is it communism now? Is it Marxism? Yes. Oh, my God. I don't know.
You know, here in Dane County, where I live, Dane County, Wisconsin.
The Marxist socialist capital of the world.
Well, some would claim, but there will be an extended mask mandate, the Delta variant. And I saw the county's numbers. I mean, the numbers are up precipitously. The Delta strain and the number of infected people, it's a big number.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue extending the mask mandates here. And of course, the comments I'm seeing on social media immediately, tyrannical. How dare you? You know, what's your off ramp? I'm like, well, you know, eventually the numbers go down and then, you know, take the mask off. That's the off ramp.
I'm interested to compare it to the willing control group that is the rest of the state. That's what you're doing. If you're not getting vaccinated, if you're not wearing masks anywhere, you're basically saying, I'd like to be in the control group in this giant experiment we're doing worldwide.
You know, I find myself in sort of a weird mood today, Fancy Brian.
Yeah.
Here's why. Overnight, couple of kids died at my kid's high school, and it was a tragic accident. It was caused by a drunk driver, not amongst those that died. The drunk driver apparently lives, but 3 teenage boys died. And one of these boys is a classmate of my son. My eldest son is a senior. And, you know, I asked him last night when we found out more details, and the school didn't share the names, but the social medias, of course, they did. And there are some GoFundMe accounts in different veins. But some kids were out on Saturday night. They're on the west side of Madison, not more than 3-4 blocks from where, well, a little bit farther than that, maybe a mile from where we're at right now, Fancy Brian. And anyways, this drunk driver apparently hit them at high speed. And, you know, I'm not even going to say the boys were killed instantly, but the car was sent far into a cornfield and burned. And these 3 boys died. 2 were still in school. 1 was a recent grad of the high school where my boys attend. And this is homecoming week. Not that there's any great time to hear about the tragic death of some teenage boys, but it's homecoming week, and the school's trying to figure out how do we respond to this. And, I thought to myself, I remember the first time I lost a classmate, wasn't in school, but immediately after school, a girl died, freshman year in college, coming back from a track party, and she got thrown out of the back of a Jeep, wasn't properly strapped in, and it killed her.
8 out of 9 years, every year, one of my classmates died of one thing or another.
Well, I just think how affecting that is, especially to young people, and how tragic all the parents, I'm sure, think. And we all slow down for a minute. We think, well, what if that were my kid? It would devastate the entire rest of our lives. It would be so tragic. And then I look at the number of people that have died of COVID-19, the number of families that have been touched, 700,000 in this nation. And I'm thinking, I watched a whole community is rallying together right now for some lost teenage boys. But there are people dying of COVID-19 in my state, all across this country, all around the nation. And it's like they're insisting that they have the freedom to not wear their seatbelts. They have the freedom to go out there and drive drunk and affect others on the road, because their claim of freedom to not get vaccinated, not, honor masking mandates and things of that nature, seem to me about as logical as someone claiming I have the freedom to go drive drunk. Oh, I'm drunk. If you don't like me being drunk, you stay off the roads, right? I mean, that's a very selfish attitude. It kills people. People die because of it. And we cry and we feel bad when it's some teenage kids. But we got a nation full of people, and 700,000 of them have lost family members. 700,000 families have lost at least one member. And I don't see people crying. I mean, I know it's happening on individual basis, but as a nation, we should weep. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates.
On the internet, you can find all sorts of people saying different things.
Quit surfing the dial. You already found the greatest radio station ever, Devil Radio, on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
Hey Madison, I'm Luke Mathers.
And I'm Brian Kelly.
And we are the hosts of a brand new show on Devil Radio, Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian.
Weekdays from 2 to 3 p.m.
Join us for the news of the day and conversations about advancing progressive values.
You know, my buddy Brad was in a progressive commercial.
Oh yeah? I bet he's pretty jealous that you're in this commercial right now.
I'm jealous of us being in this commercial together.
Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian, weekdays from 2 to 3 p.m.
You'll be jealous of yourself, I promise.
Virus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks lower, the Dow down 323 points. The mood has changed for many healthcare workers during the pandemic. People are behaving badly.
A year ago, we're healthcare heroes and everybody's clapping for us. And now we're being, in some areas, harassed.
Dr. Stu Kaufman works at an emergency room in Dallas. Dr. Vincent Shaw is at a hospital in Baton Rouge. He's heard doubts about the vaccine.
Most common is I'm not sure what's in the vaccine.
Dr. Carl Lambert at Rush Medical Center in Illinois says he's heard doubts from patients too.
There's a chip in the vaccine that it takes over your DNA, that it gets into your genome, which is impossible.
Lambert tries to calm the patient, hoping to change their minds.
Even to say like empathetically, yeah, there's a lot of information. It's easy to get confused, but I'm so glad you brought it to me so that I can kind of clear that up.
I'm Ed Donahue.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Brian Kelly with your headlines. Rather than advance legislation to legalize and regulate marijuana in Wisconsin, Republican lawmakers have introduced legislation to further criminalize cannabis extracts. Last Thursday, Republican lawmakers in the state assembly held a hearing to advance felony penalties for hash oil and related products manufactured from cannabis. Milwaukee Brewers were swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers over the weekend, but will host the Atlanta Braves for the first game of the National League Divisional Series on Friday, October 8th. Green Bay Packers beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday 27-17. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers and wide receiver Randall Cobb connected for 2 touchdowns in the win over the Steelers. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
%60 of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Don't sign those papers tonight, Brian. Keep working with me, man. Don't sell out.
I have yet to be presented with these papers. If I have to at least entertain the thought.
You can't work in radio all your life.
I can work in radio all my life. I always like to know the options. I have to look up and down the entire aisle before I decide the same tacos again.
844-967-2789.
But there's so many different taco shells.
It's not Taco Tuesday, man. Jeannie from Eau Claire, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hello, guys. I feel real bad for, the kids around your area that lost, people their same age. And one of the things to really, be aware of that, those teenage kids don't always express their grief, in the same way as adults do. They might be kind of, get a little withdrawn or moody, or just kind of keep an eye on it. And they may not express concerns, the way that we would, but keep an eye on all the kids, because I dealt with something like that in the school I used to work with. And it hit kids that didn't even know the young ones that, the ones that passed away. But teenagers, and when it's somebody their own age, they all kind of deal with it a little bit differently. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because they're dealing with enough already, and then have this kind of happen that, I feel bad for the kids. This is really a travesty for them. And thanks for bringing it up.
Well,
That's
I'm not trying to use the local tragedy as a ratings driver, but what I would say is I feel like we should be a nation mourning, and when it's individual kids or adults or friends or someone you knew, Jeannie, it seems a lot more tragic. When 2 kids die at the school, it's very tragic. In the middle of homecoming week, all the activities are canceled and all these kids are thinking about it. And if not before, they're having to deal with their own mortality, as we all do, whenever someone we know dies. But when it's 700,000 people dead, when it's nearly 1 million Americans, Jeannie, it's like somehow less tragic. It's like people care less. Those are statistics. That's somebody else's problem. I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm getting me some ivermectin. I'm going to go down and get me some hydroxychloroquine. You know, I don't understand how people cannot feel the tragedy and have some sense of empathy for their fellow Americans, Jeannie. Why, if it doesn't happen to their family or one of their kids, then they don't give a damn.
It's gotten bad, Crudy. It really has. It's like they've taken a survival of the fittest or survival of, I mean, it's a horrible thing what's going on in our country right now. There's a lot of people out there with some pretty bad psychological issues that happen to come out in anger at their fellow man. I mean, they may be hurting just bad everybody else, but I'm not making an excuse for their behaviors. No way in God's green earth should they be acting the way that they're doing. But instead of dealing with the situation, they attack other people, and there's no excuse for it, just none. And those people that are representing us is just abhorrent. And I can't think of anything else way to describe. And the putridness of the people in the state of Wisconsin that think they own the state and their behaviors, just doing whatever the heck they feel like. I mean, you know, I wish you guys were all over the state. That's all I wished, you know, because you are outstanding and people need to learn what the devil's going on. And it's not being covered very well on my side of the state, and it makes me just sick. But anyway, keep up the great
Jeannie,
job.
you keep buying super cash tickets, and if you hit it big, sister, we'll go into business together.
You betcha. That'd be the greatest thing in the world. You take care, and thanks, guys, for the work you're doing. You are greatly appreciated every single hour of the day of the week, and through the month and the year. So please keep up the great work, because you are making a difference and you are appreciated. So you guys take care, okay?
Well, I appreciate it. Man, no one's ever perhaps said that nice a thing to me ever. My wife didn't say that nice of stuff to me on my wedding day.
Wow, and you have a chance to write that if you maybe even put in something in writing for her to say, and you couldn't even. Hey, here's some vows. No,
I don't recall. I think we just followed the officiant's vows.
You yeah, that's great. Let's go.
You are the light of my life.
Do you? Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Good. Kiss it. You're married.
844-967-2789. Andy from Beaver Dam. Welcome back, my friend. What do you got for us?
Well, along the same lines, Crudy, is a sad story from Beaver Dam. There was a Dodge County supervisor and the town hall chairman, nice guy, very outspoken, was against masks and everything. And he was down at UW for, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks or whatever, on a ventilator. And he died of a heart attack at the age of 58 on Wednesday last week. And it's a real tragedy. You guys are young guys yet, but you know, the guy didn't even make 60. You know, he didn't even make retirement. You know, and he had a business, hardworking guy. You know, his dad had it before him. He lost his dad to cancer last year. And, you know, I was dumbfounded when I heard it. I thought, you got to be kidding me. You know, I knew the guy a little bit. And so, you know, like you say, 700,000 people. And, you know, everything I look at, the economy and a lot of other things, and what could have been done at the start of the pandemic, or, you know, if they already would have taken heeded the warning. And, you know, we might not be sitting the way we are today a year and a half to 2 years later. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but, you know, it's really done.
Andy, my thoughts are, I don't know when we became so callous as a nation. I'm not sure if this is the result of the Donald Trump presidency. I mean, Jeannie talked about, you know, people in the state of Wisconsin not treating each other very well. And in no small part, that was inspired by Scott Walker. Scott Walker divided and conquered the state of Wisconsin. He pitted neighbors against neighbors. And it was never like this to my memory, Andy. I grew up in the state, man. I never remember hating on my neighbor because of the R or the D behind his name. I never felt that strongly. I never felt that passionately, like I got to stick it to these people because they're ideologically not like me. But that's the way it has become, Andy. I mean, it's the success of Facebook and social media is so people control each other. I mean, most of the animus in this nation is, just so some MAGA lover can drink some liberal tears. And it's troubling to me, Andy, because, a lady, I was at the gas station this morning. A lady came up to me and I'm thinking, how can I help you? Well, she just needed her gas cap opened. It was on too tight. Well, you know what? That's a little small thing, but I can solve that problem. And I didn't ask her, well, who would you vote for? I didn't say, are you a Republican? Or are you a Democrat? I mean, that's not the way we live our lives. If you saw a neighbor's kid out walking the street at midnight, you'd probably gather them up and bring them in the house and hope to find mom and dad, right? We would all take care of our neighbor's kid, hopefully in need, in tragedy, in need. But Andy, when it comes to our political foes, our ideological opponents, man, screw that guy. Screw that guy. That is the nation. That is tongue-tying myself here, Andy. That is sort of the attitude our nation has taken towards their own neighbor. Screw that guy.
I got another story for you real quick before you get off. There was a NASCAR race down in Alabama this weekend on Saturday. And I haven't seen the recording yet, but after the race is over, they usually, the winner goes up to the flag man and gets the flag and they interview him and all this. People in the background were chanting F Biden, F Biden, NBC had it on, and they were trying to say that, oh no, that they were saying, the race driver's name and that, he was, they were cheering him on because he won the race. But if you listen to I bet you that's on YouTube. If you listen to it, they're plainly saying, F Biden, just chanting it, what? It's just like the guy up in Beaver Dam on 33 that used to they had the sign that said F Biden. Big sign, big, like a bill, almost like a billboard. I mean, what kind of hate brings us to that level? I mean, I would like to think, like you said, that most people in this country want to be kind and help anybody if they can, whether it's you can't get their gas cap off or open the door for me or whatever, I mean, I want to have optimism that that's not the way that the majority of the people in the country feel. Let's hope not anyway. Otherwise we're in bad shape.
Andy, I used to describe people like that as their mama raised them right. Their mama raised them right. And I'm very proud of my kids. My wife raised them right. And I, played some small part, Andy, but they would help out somebody else in need. I truly believe that in my heart. I've seen the quality of the character they demonstrate. But, there are a lot of people in this world that, if I was on the side of the road and I had a Joe Biden bumper sticker on the back of my car and I'm sitting there changing a tire at midnight, they'd probably try to hit the mud puddle and splash me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. We're off the charts in terms of our animosity towards each other. I don't know, but anyway, have a good week, guys.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate your listenership and your call.
That type of stuff is supposed to be reserved for like sports. Like the Phoenix Suns took out a billboard in Milwaukee, taunting the Bucks and things like that, or friends of them. And people were like, oh, that's mean and everything. Well, that's just sports trash talking stuff. That's where that stuff belongs. Not like I don't see anyone with Biden flags.
Reserve your trash talking for sports.
Do it in a sports where,
because that's a tongue-in-cheek sort of matter. You're a moron, your team sucks. And
that's kind of, but now that now that Black Lives Matter again, the hateful have to go somewhere else because they can't, they're being alienated from their own sport of organized destruction.
Yeah, I talked to a friend who's very much a sports guy, and he told me I barely watch sports anymore, except for the Brewers and the Bucks, of course. And his biggest contention is the Black Lives Matter, the fact that they would protest the George Floyd and all that kind of stuff. And, I know he's a pretty conservative guy. I know he's a Trumpster, but he's always been a big sports first kind of guy. I mean, he'll watch any game. TBS is like his favorite station because there's always a baseball game on. And this guy is still like taking it personal. I'm like, what did Black Lives Matter ever do to you? Why do you
literally the
care?
only thing that you see in any game right now is just at the end of the end zone. That's it. End racism now. That's all it says. That's the only thing you get. And then you get 4 billion flags, and then flags and flags and flags and flags and flags, and then military, and then let's all rise to honor the latest cadet. We've run out of everybody to praise. This person has given a pencil to another cadet, and they are now our U.S. military. Hooray, everybody, military, military, military. But that person is pissed off at Black Lives Matter because they have one message in the end zone. What a freaking, just get over yourself.
Well, because apparently he feels very attacked by the notion that some people are racist. And I'm always thinking to myself, but if that bothers you so much, isn't that sort of a subconscious confession of sorts? If someone says Black Lives Matter and you think they're calling me a racist, that's not exactly what they're doing. But if you perceive it that way, look in the mirror.
America is so racist that you can protest racism and people think you're protesting America.
Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates, your place for advocacy, protest, anger, and all that kind of stuff. 844-967-2789. Rather make you smile, laugh a little, have a good time.
Tonight she said, but I can't work in fast food all my life.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Roadhouse.
Hey, Wisconsin, this is Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company. Usually, I promote my progressive beer on this station, but today I wanted to promote these guys at Devil Radio. Devil Radio is the only progressive talk station in the state, and there are no less than 81 conservative talk stations in Wisconsin that spew crazy Trump cult rhetoric. While the Republicans have big pockets to fund these stations and manipulate Wisconsinites to vote against their own interests, Democrats have to rely on grassroots donations to get their message out. So I'm asking you to donate some money to these guys and keep them on the air. And I'm asking you to do it in September because every dollar you donate this month will be matched by an anonymous donor that cares about making Wisconsin a democracy again and knows that this radio station helps with that mission. So please donate today at devilradio927.com at the Support Devil Radio tab. Again, send some big bucks to devilradio927.com at the Support Devil Radio tab.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Our friend Scott Russ.
Johnson's going to have this hearing next week. The way in which he has misused and abused his office in order to try and further these crackpot theories he had 2 anti-vaxxer hearings. I don't understand what the point of that is. It's one thing to be like, all right, if you're a Republican, you're like, I'll just try and forget that Trump said we might be able to inject ourselves with bleach to solve this COVID problem. But why would you so revel in your own crapulence that you would actually have several hearings in the United States Senate?
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. President Joe Biden, speaking today from the White House, shook his fist at the Republicans. I would call them stupid people. Here's how the president described this brinksmanship over the debt limit. Of course, October 18th, the U.S. government runs out of money, but, Republicans, they like it that way. They like to put us on the brink of desperate harm as a nation. But, let's hear how the president describes it. Cut number 150, please.
Republicans in Congress raised the debt 3 times when Donald Trump was president, and each time with Democrat support.
More from Biden, 151.
What we pay for, so it keeps us a great nation. Social Security benefits for seniors, salaries for brave service members, and benefits for veterans, and other financial obligations for our people and for our nation.
And so what's the bottom line, Joe? Cut 152.
Raising the debt limit comes down to paying what we already owe, what has already been acquired, not anything new.
But Mitch McConnell wrote a letter, 153, Joe Biden.
I plan on talking to Mitch about it. He and I have been down this road once before, back when I was vice president. And I hope we can have some intelligent and honest conversation about what he's proposing.
Now, I want to jump ahead a little bit here, Fancy Brain, a little bit more from President Joe Biden, then back to the phones, 844-967-2789. Biden says it will get done. 157, please.
This is a process. We'll get it done.
Well, needs a little more Democratic support. I can think of 2 senators that might be the problem. 158.
I need 50 votes in the Senate. I have 48.
Yeah. And we know which 2 are the problem. A little bit more, again, jumping ahead here, cut 161, President Biden, don't blame my boy Bernie.
The legislation, both the Build Back Better piece as well as the infrastructure piece, are things that I wrote. These didn't come from, God love him, Bernie Sanders or AOC or anybody else. I wrote them.
If you're going to blame anybody, blame Trump. 162.
The reason we have to raise the debt limit is in part because of the reckless tax and spending policies under the previous Trump administration.
Cut 163. It's not related to the infrastructure whatsoever. We haven't spent that money yet. 163.
Raising the debt limit is about paying off our old debts. There's nothing to do with any new spending being considered. There's nothing to do with my plan for infrastructure.
Well, I don't think Republicans really want to keep it separate because, that would take a lot of brain power and a little nuance. And of course, it doesn't allow you to bash Biden. 844-967-2789. Let's go back to the phones. Our good and fair audience. Wisco Paul, you're next. What do you got for us?
Hey, good afternoon, Crudy, Brian. Talking about what you were discussing before a little bit, what possesses somebody to go vandalize Minocqua Brewery, and what possesses someone to go down and firebomb Democratic headquarters? I think it was in Texas. Some of it is the rhetoric in Fox. I certainly don't call it news because it's not that. And right-wing radio, they have a devout hate for anybody with a D behind their name. And I don't know if anything's going to change anytime soon. A good example is what President Biden just said. It's not the bills the Democrats ran up. This was the Trump debts that they run up without covering the tax cuts. So, but you can't get if you take a Republican and you tell them that, they won't believe it anyway because Fox News said so. It's just an amazing thing. I don't know where we're going from here, Crudy. I do hope that people get their senses and we get at least an infrastructure bill, changing the subject a little bit. And it would be nice to get the reconciliation bill also. But I don't, for the life of me, I don't remember when I've seen things this bad politically. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Walker. Walker has destroyed the politics in the state. With that, I don't get it. I can talk to Republicans. So have a good day, Crudy.
Thank you, Paul. I can talk to anybody, including you, Wisco Paul. I got no qualms whatsoever talking with Republicans. So many of them come unprepared to these conversations, because they are just leading with emotion. They're leading with talking points. They're not really leading with well-conceived ideology, even other than, you suck. That's not a well thought out argument. You suck. 844-967-2789 could be accurate, but not well rationed. Dick from Madison, welcome back. What do you got for us, Dick?
Are the Badgers going to win again this year?
No, Badgers. I've written off the season, man. Let's move back on to politics, Dick.
Okay. Your friend that gets all upset about Black Lives Matter, they find out that one of the things during the Floyd thing in the Twin Cities now, the guy caught on video that was doing some shooting and saying justice for George Floyd and was a Proud Boy. So anyway, but
almost there were some agitators in the crowd, Dick.
Yeah, but my main reason I called is why the Democrats just can't take this and run with it. Here's leadership. We get to the 700,000 plus, and I actually think it's way more. It's an undercount. But you got Texas and Florida. Just since June, Texas has lost 17,000 people, or that's Florida, and Texas 13,500. Between the two states, they account for 30% of the deaths since June. That's real leadership. And can I just say, both states are led by Republican governors. Nice job, guys.
I haven't verified your math, but it seems relatively accurate. Appreciate your call, Dick. Thanks for hanging out, man. Calling in from the garage.
One of our texters has an idea. Tony from Oregon says we need a socialist on our side. Or I'm sorry. We have several socialists. We need a sociopath on our side. A
sociopath.
Yeah, a sociopath.
Like a socialist, but with some Republican
less caring about the other people.
Who would be a good sociopath?
Do you have a list of sociopaths?
I'm not saying that Bill Clinton was a sociopath, but Bill Clinton, of all the famous and leader executive sorts of Democrats, I would say Bill Clinton, perhaps the closest to
I could see that. You kind of need to be a sociopath almost, at least partially, to get there, don't you?
Just go to compartmentalizing.
Possibly.
Here's the truth. I keep it in this part. And here's, what I'm going to tell the press. I keep it over here. Come back with us. Depends on what the meaning of is. More Devil's Advocates. The 4 o'clock happy hour starts right now.
Come on. Do it. Do it. Everybody's doing it.
This is a process. We'll get it done.
Well.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Welcome to Jeopardy! Aaron has the night off. Jimmy?
I'll take local music for 1,000, Rob.
This local band is celebrating 25 years in November.
Who is VO5?
Oh, Jimmy, no. Rocker?
Who is Fat Function?
That's correct. This local band is playing Funk's Pub on October 30th for the Devil Radio Halloween weekend.
Who is my new band, Rob? Iron Plow. How does he know all this stuff?
By listening to Max Inc. Radio, Jimmy, every Saturday from 6 p.m. to midnight.
I'm downloading the Devil Radio app right now.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224 EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Biden is telling Republicans to get out of the way and let Democrats pass a bill to raise the debt limit.
Republicans say they will not do their part to avoid this needless calamity. So be it. But they need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the deadline is 2 weeks away to either raise the debt limit or face default. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says Democrats are having trouble governing.
The majority needs to stop sleepwalking toward yet another preventable crisis. Democrats need to tackle the debt limit. We gave them a roadmap and 3 months notice. I suggest that our colleagues get moving.
The Biden administration reversed a Trump administration ban on abortion referrals by family planning clinics. Stocks finished lower. The Dow down 323 points. Tech companies took the big hit. Facebook fell 5.5% a day after a former employee told 60 Minutes the company has consistently chosen its own interest over the public good. Facebook and its Instagram and WhatsApp platforms have also been down worldwide for several hours. A ship's anchor is among the possible causes of an oil spill in Southern California. Martin Wilshire is Amplify Energy's CEO.
So we get down there with divers. I'm not going to speculate on that. We are investigating, and like I said, within the next 24 hours, we'll have a much better answer for you.
Officials are looking into whether the ship's anchor may have struck an oil pipeline on the ocean floor. Bubba Wallace became just the second black driver to win at NASCAR's top Cup Series level when rain stopped today's playoff race at Talladega in Alabama. The mayor of Rochester, New York, Lovely Warren, agreed to resign shortly before her term ends as part of a deal to settle charges she violated campaign finance rules. This is AP News.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Over the years, we have done our best to bring you the highest quality products our industry has to offer. And we are very excited to bring you a new location just east of the Capitol at 951 Williamson Street. Now with 3 locations, there's an Ignite Glass and Gifts near you, no matter which side of town you're on. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. Let's torch some glass at Ignite.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner.
Cleaner.
Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Have you got your head in the clouds on how to manage IT for your enterprise? We can make your dreams a reality. With our enterprise cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting, we'll manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Consider Five Nines your personal enterprise IT solution. Enjoy technology. For more information, visit fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Hey there, my name is Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. I teamed up with Pat Kreitlow, the managing director of Up North News, to create the Up North podcast. We're going to talk about Wisconsin news and culture through the eyes of Northern Wisconsinites, but also through our progressive viewpoints in the heart of one of the reddest parts of our state. We'll be doing our show live at Devil Radio 92.7 on Wednesday nights at 7, and you can check the podcast out at upnorthpodcast.com.
Won't you let me die?
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Brian Kelly with your headlines. Over the weekend, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services reported that Wisconsin has passed the threshold of 8,000 COVID-19 deaths reported in the state since the beginning of the pandemic. Southeastern Wisconsin will not be home to an electric vehicle plant operated by Foxconn after the Taiwanese company announced at the end of last week that it will be partnering with a U.S. manufacturer in Ohio. Foxconn has yet to announce new plans for the Mount Pleasant location in southeastern Wisconsin. Today, cloudy with a high of 70, possible scattered showers. Tonight, more clouds with lows in the low 60s. Tomorrow, cloudy, highs in the low 70s. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour. Well, it starts right now. I've got some breaking news for our friends listening right here in Dane County. The mask mandate has been extended. November 5th, the new deadline.
Oh my goodness.
Dane County officials are again extending the countywide mask mandate until November 5th. No other changes are being made to the local health department's emergency order, which requires everyone 2 and older to wear a face covering inside an enclosed building where people from other households are present. Public Health Madison and Dane County cited the county's high level of community transmission is defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as a reason to extend the mandate. A little bit more here. Dane County, the state's most vaccinated county, reinstated a masking requirement in August in response to emerging Delta variant of the coronavirus, even without children under 12 eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. 71% of Dane County's population is fully vaccinated. It is our responsibility to do everything we can to protect our most vulnerable population until they are eligible to be vaccinated, according to Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway. Public health spokesperson Morgan Benke said the agency considers several factors such as case and vaccination rates, transmission levels, hospitalizations, and deaths for making decisions on whether to extend or end emergency mandates. The county's weekly rate of COVID-19, about 22 for every 100,000 back on July 19th. That number grew to 209 per 100,000 on September 19th, before declining to 157 per 100,000 last week, according to Public Health. Last month, Dane County, which is likely the only county in Wisconsin with the mask mandate, carved out an exemption in its masking requirement to allow stage and musical performers to go maskless if they follow a set of criterion. So anyways, mask mandates have been extended here in the Dane County area till November 5th.
Okay.
And we've got some of the highest vaccination rates. And you're right, Fancy Brian, other than a few trollers on differing, news accounts, I'd say the vast majority of the population is exactly that. Okay, let's stay safe.
Or, okay, this is what I got to do to go in. All right, I'll put it on and I'll go in and I get my stuff done and then I go out and then I live my life and move on because it's nothing else beyond that. It's fine.
Pretty much the only public place I go anymore, grocery store.
Well, think of it this way for the conspiracy theorist who thinks that the mask mandates are taking over the world. Well, think about this. The mask stops the facial recognition software from figuring out who you are. So, there's a plus to this as well. You can wear a mask legally and not have to worry about being facially recognized by the software that's out to get us all.
844-967-2789. Jake, come on, man. You got to stick around. I'm just getting to you. But I got some breaking political news, some candidacy news. We finally got some candidates for a couple of big offices.
Ooh.
Let's start out with the congressional seat currently held by Ron Kind. Ron Kind, a Democrat in the western part of the state, La Crosse is where he's from. Ron Kind has decided he's retiring from the U.S. Congress. And that's a big problem. Ron Kind has held that seat narrowly in a district that Trump won. So that is a difficult seat. And obviously, we're going to see redistricting of some sort. But in the meantime, we got to have a Democratic candidate. Well, fancy Brian, we got a candidate. Democratic State Senator Brad Pfaff announced Sunday he's running in battleground 3rd Congressional District to replace Ron Kind. Pfaff, the Governor Tony Evers' former agricultural secretary, is the only high-profile Democrat to announce a run for the Western Wisconsin seat after Kind announced he would not seek another term to the House after 13 terms. That's 26 years in office. If Pfaff advances through the Democratic primary, he'll have to face Republican candidate Derek Van Orden, a former U.S. Navy SEAL who lives in Prairie du Chien, narrowly lost to Kind in 2020. Van Orden announced raising more than $1 million since Kind announced his retirement. Apparently, Eau Claire small business owner Rebecca Cook also considering a run. She's on the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation board. But Van Orden, I don't see any notes here. Van Orden, took his campaign money and went out and joined the insurrection. I mean, nothing makes you a better candidate for higher office than participating in active treasonous seditionist act.
Jumping
with
in
campaign cash.
Jumping in with the people and paying for it with the money that the people gave you is really the way that you're supposed to do it, right?
I am very excited that Brad Pfaff is running for this seat. The move by the GOP-controlled state Senate, let's not forget the state Senate rejected Pfaff's confirmation as agricultural secretary. Well, he promptly went back to his district and won a Senate seat, one that, Republicans thought was vulnerable. That was, Jennifer, the former Senate minority leader. I'll come back to it.
Schilling?
Schilling, thank you.
Yeah.
Jennifer Schilling's former seat. Pfaff currently he's only been a state senator for about a year, but now he's a congressional candidate, and he could have just been the ag secretary. But Wisconsin Republicans just weren't going to confirm.
What
him.
was the reason that they gave to just reject him outright for the ag?
One,
by the way, I was really impressed that they even had a hearing whatsoever, because by the way, they've put off confirming a bunch of his appointees for years now. But anyway, what was the actual reason that Brad Pfaff? I feel like it was an arbitrary agricultural type of BS.
The Republicans in the state Senate argued that Pfaff was bad on manure storage, and that should be a topic they know something about.
Oh, okay.
He said that, some of the more stringent manure storage rules, and let's not forget, we got some big ass CAFOs and we got a lot of contaminated water here in the state of Wisconsin. Well, go figure, the ag secretary is working on crap storage rules because, that's affecting
There's
farms.
Literal poop in people's water.
Well, yeah, but, Republicans are okay with that. But they think that Pfaff was, hurting struggling farmers amid one of the worst downturns for the dairy industry in the a decade, a century, something like that.
Yeah, we were losing just under $1,000 of family farms a year.
Well, some of that loss of family farms, and I understood that we had some of the highest bankruptcy rates among small family farmers of any state in the nation. And this is something that's been going on since back when Walker was the governor. Well, the real reason, at least Tony Evers, who was, Pfaff's boss, Pfaff was the Evers appointee. The reason Evers states that Pfaff didn't actually get his confirmation vote was that Pfaff was sticking up for farmers and publicly criticizing Republicans for holding back suicide prevention dollars, which they did. And Pfaff was critical, and Scott Fitzgerald specifically, I think, didn't like being criticized because he had his own congressional run to worry about. So Pfaff didn't get confirmed as the agricultural secretary because he was standing up and trying to get more resources for our bankrupted small farmers in the state of Wisconsin, feeling a little suicidal and depressed.
So essentially, Big Ag said no.
I don't even think it was Big Ag. I just think it was petulant Republicans who didn't like being held up to accountability because they didn't want to support the farmers.
So even dumber than trying to get someone out of the way of some sort of legislation they wanted.
It was a suicide prevention hotline they wouldn't fund. That's not the Big Ag's not like, we want more suicidal farmers. That was just Republicans being Republicans because it was a Democratic proposal and a Democratic ag secretary. And they didn't like being held up to scorn and ridicule for failing to do their jobs and standing up for Wisconsin farmers. That's why he didn't get confirmed, at least in my opinion.
Jeez. I mean, like, what do you have? Like, why is that? You're talking about, stopping and let's be nicer. Last hour, we were talking about, what happened in Wisconsin that was really nice. Stop on the side of the road and help someone change a tire type of thing, really helping out people, open up the gas tank and everything. But then someone goes and says, why are you not liking this person? Well, the Dems tried to do a suicide prevention thing and I didn't like it. So, meh. Like, how can you talk to a person like that who thinks about things like that and does stuff motivated because, like, at least the big ag thing makes sense. At least, like, if it was big ag stopping him, it would make it would go, okay, this guy's trying to stop us from being able to put manure in people's water because that's what we want to do. Like that would make sense to me. But just because of a petulant BS thing that Scott Fitzgerald was like, I don't like it when people think that I don't like suicide prevention. Bleh. Like, how do you even talk to someone like that? That's someone you can't reason with. That's somebody that you can't go and say, hey, man, I got a bill that I think both of us could work together with and both of us can benefit from. No, it's always, it benefits me, it benefits us, and that's all it is. It sickens me, and that's why I go on Facebook and troll people. And I'm really mad that I can't do it right now because Facebook's still down.
Facebook is still down. Brad Pfaff, the newest congressional candidate from the 3rd Congressional District. And while Brad, I wouldn't say he's a dynamo. I think he's a solid guy, a solid citizen. He was the ag secretary designee. He is a sitting state senator. So, he gets to call himself Senator Pfaff, not insurrectionist Van Orden. Do you think Van Orden embraces that? I was one of the original insurrectionists.
I don't know that he'd want to embrace that. Now it may come under some sort of indictment of some sort.
Do you see what he did at the local library? The local library.
Oh, yeah, that's the one he stopped.
Raised hell and Pray to Sheen, I think. Didn't like all the pro-gay books.
What are you doing in a library anyway? You've never been there in the first place, because if you did, you wouldn't be such an ew.
Come back with us. More devil's advocates, more candidates. And finally, we've got a lieutenant gubernatorial candidate. Somebody wants to run to be Tony Evers' sidekick. I wonder if Tony's excited about this new pick. We'll tell you in just a minute. And also, an attorney general candidate in the state of Wisconsin is withdrawing from the race. Tell you who that is as well. Come back. Brand new candidacy news, Wisconsin style, more devil's advocates.
Man, they were nihilists, man. Huh? They kept saying they believe in nothing.
I mean, say what you want about the tenets of National Socialism, dude. At least it's an ethos.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Chance Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
At Crazy Lenny's e-bikes, my store, we have solid e-bikes with 4 power levels, 7 speeds for just $844, or we have the best-selling e-bike designed for Madison bike trails, 5 power settings with throttle or center drive, 35-mile range, complete comfort spring-loaded seats, soft front adjustable shocks, a $2,000 e-bike, $600 off, just $1,400.
The largest selection in North America, 200 e-bikes on display. I've seen them
at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes.
Hey man, you still driving to Beloit for gummies and carts?
Yeah, man, it's a real drag.
Well, stop wasting gas, man, and ride your bike over to Williamson Street and stop into Quality CBD. They have gummies and carts.
Huh? They have gummies?
And all your favorites like Delta 8, Delta 10, and THCP.
Wow, man, where are they located?
Find Quality CBD at 1222 Williamson Street in Madison. For more information, visit qualitycbd.org. That's qualitycbd.org.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Devil Radio app streaming 24/7. Here's how you get them. If they bring a beer, you bring it old-fashioned. If they bring cheese curds, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way. That's Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome back from the 420 break. Fancy Brian, you always seem a little happier after 420.
Well, it reminds me that everybody around the world can just go and enjoy themselves some cannabis. Even in Wisconsin, where it is illegal, you can still do it because they don't really prosecute unless you have so much that they have to take pictures with it and brag about how awesome they are fighting the war on drugs and wasting all of our money going after people for smoking a plant.
Oh, or unless you're brown.
I've just killed my own buzz.
Let me tell a story. I've been wondering who's going to run for lieutenant governor, who's going to be Tony Evers' sidecar. And this position, as Mandela Barnes is running for the U.S. Senate, Mandela, obviously the current lieutenant governor under the Democratic governor Evers. Well, I would have thought that would be an appealing position and people would be lining up to run for it. Well, finally, we've got our first entrant into the race. And I'm not sure if this candidate is the hand-selected choice of the governor. I suspected the governor's choice was kind of laying in the weeds somewhere. But we shall see. You never can tell. Maybe he reached out to her, but I doubt it. Lena Taylor is the newest lieutenant gubernatorial candidate. And I like Lena Taylor as an interview subject. She's always got something good to say.
Yeah, and she's a really nice lady. Every time I've met her, she's been personal, fantastic, gives hugs. She's great.
But she's got some baggage.
She does.
She has some baggage. She actually beat Mandela Barnes. Mandela ran against Lena Taylor to be a state senator, and she obviously beat him because she's Senator Taylor, and he went on to run for lieutenant governor and now the U.S. Senate. But here is what Molly Beck's reporting about the candidacy of Lena Taylor. Wisconsin Senator Lena Taylor of Milwaukee is running for lieutenant governor in the 2022 election, the first Democrat to enter the race to replace Mandela Barnes, who of course is running for the U.S. Senate. The first of many question mark or the first and only question mark? We'll see. Taylor announced her run at a press conference outside the Wisconsin State Capitol in Madison, where she has, served as a lawmaker since 2003. Here's a quote. "I believe that it's important to strengthen the ticket, and I look forward to being a team player to help bring Governor Evers across the finish line," Taylor said in an interview. She said she intends to focus her campaign on agricultural and food issues and music, which Taylor described as tools that can help unify the state.
All right.
Music.
All right. I like, honestly, if you're coming from Milwaukee and you want to go and reach the rest of the state, you got to focus on ag. And if she can do that successfully and tie it into the food deserts that are around Milwaukee, I think that would be a fantastic thing.
Sure, but how does music factor in?
Everybody loves music. We play that music. It's music.
Yes. But it's an electoral plank. I'm just not sure how that factors in.
Music.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense.
See?
Taylor, 55, is an attorney and has served in the legislature for 18 years. She said her presence in the Evers administration could help navigate the relationship between the legislative and executive branches, which has been almost non-existent since Evers was elected in 2018. "I think the governor has been a great governor." This is her quote. He has had many challenges when a legislative branch refuses to come to the table and does things early on to undermine his position as governor. It makes it a challenge. He has very candidly done it with grace and done it in a way that makes most individuals appreciate him. In 2020, Taylor was the only senator to vote against confirming Eve Neuer's cabinet pick for the Department of Children and Families Secretary Emily Edmondson. So I guess they're looking for a point of contention between Evers and Taylor here. Taylor told WisPolitics.com at the time she has long believed the agency has problems and doesn't believe Edmondson had the qualifications to fix them. Taylor's bid for lieutenant governor comes a year after she lost election for Milwaukee mayor to incumbent Tom Barrett. Oh, she runs for lots of stuff, doesn't she, Lena? She also unsuccessfully ran for Milwaukee County Executive in 2008 against former gubernator Scotty Walker. In 2018, Taylor received a disorderly conduct. This is some of the baggage as I was describing it. She received a disorderly conduct municipal citation for berating a bank teller. The teller and 4 witnesses told Milwaukee police Taylor called the teller a house N-word after a dispute over depositing an $825 check. According to police reports, she pled no contest, paid a fine, according to city records. That year, a legislative human resources investigation found she bullied her staff and retaliated against an employee for using family and medical leave. She was subsequently removed from the legislator's Joint Finance Committee, which at the time she called a political lynching. Taylor said Monday her experience on the Finance Committee would be helpful in navigating work with the legislature. Taylor was appointed to the committee in 2004 and briefly served as co-chairwoman about a decade ago. She was the first and only Black female lawmaker to hold that position. And a handful of Republicans have announced their bids for the LT job, including State Senator Patrick Teston of Stevens Point, Lancaster Mayor David Farnham, and Ben Vogel. We knew Ben because he was the former communications director for U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Teston says he welcomes Taylor to the race. We welcome Senator Taylor to the race. And while they have vastly different political positions, Senator Teston considers her a friend. The next year will allow the opportunity to lay out competing visions on how to best move Wisconsin forward in a continuation of the catastrophic policies of this Evers administration. Won't cut it for Badger State voters. That, according to Teston, he's also a candidate for the job. So, consider the source. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates, the best of sources. That's Fancy Brian. I'm Crudy. And your contributions could be next right here. Join us. 844-967-2789. Flying high again. Aren't you, Fancy?
Yeah, well, it's kind of the point where if I don't, I'm pretty much, we're all going down.
High-ish. You just look a little high-ish. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
Only on my mother's side.
Talk it out, man.
We really don't know if I have the authority to do that.
Everybody's doing it.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
Hey there, my name is Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. I teamed up with Pat Kreitlow, the managing director of Up North News, to create the Up North podcast. We're going to talk about Wisconsin news and culture through the eyes of Northern Wisconsinites, but also through our progressive viewpoints in the heart of one of the reddest parts of our state. We'll be doing our show live at Devil Radio 92.7 on Wednesday nights at 7, and you can check the podcast out at upnorthpodcast.com.
Won't you let me die?
Hey everyone, Jason Hafman here, your host of Let's Get Local, the Dane by Local radio show. Catch us Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Devil Radio app.
Bill,
I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The CEO of the company that operates a leaking oil pipeline off the California coast says they're working to control the leak and clean up the mess.
Deeply concerned by what we're seeing environmentally and with the fish and wildlife. And so, like I said, we're committed to fulfilling our duty here to help with the recovery efforts as long as that may take.
Martin Wilshire heads Amplify Energy. The pipeline has leaked some 126 gallons of heavy crude, fouling Huntington Beach and other beach communities. It could keep the beaches closed for weeks or longer. President Biden says congressional Republicans need to get out of the way as he and the Democrats work to raise the federal debt limit. He says it's needed to cover the bills left by the Trump administration.
In 4 years, $8 trillion in additional debt. And bills we have to now pay off.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the government will run out of cash reserves in 2 weeks. I'm Tim McGuire.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children. Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Brian Kelly with your headlines. On Friday, former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman issued subpoenas to the election probe he is conducting into Wisconsin's 2020 presidential election. Subpoenas were issued to the director of the Wisconsin Elections Commission and election officials in Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Racine, and Kenosha. In the subpoena requests, the Gableman probe is requesting information about grants those municipalities received from the Center for Tech and Civic Life, despite more than 200 other communities around the state also receiving grant money from the nonprofit. Today, cloudy with a high of 70, possible scattered showers. Tonight, more clouds with lows in the low 60s, and tomorrow, cloudy, highs in the low 70s. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour. It's rolling on, and your phone call is always welcome here. I got a couple of questions for the fair audience, Fancy Brian. Who is your audience member listening right now thinking, I could call 844-967-2789. Who is your chosen candidate to be Tony Evers, Lieutenant Governor? And let me please say, exclude me from inclusion. I'm not running.
Well, right now, Lena's the only one, but also she kind of would work, I think, because I think Tony needs someone who will go and tell people like it is. Most of
Maggie Gow is not happy. Maggie
of
Gow
course
is
not.
Evers' chief of
I
staff.
don't think
This
she's-
is not her choice. This is not his choice.
Of
Lena
course not.
Taylor is going against the grain by running.
Understandably so, but you know what? She's in your party and she has a voice, and part of the reason why she gets into trouble and she's been into trouble is because she speaks her mind. And if you could put that, and if you could get communication together and work together, I think she'd work together with Tony better than she would with Republicans in general. But I think being the spokesperson that just comes out and says, you guys are a bunch of a-holes every now and then, I think would be a really good thing for her, because she can also bring it down to a really personal level.
Is that what we want?
I don't know.
Like a street combatant.
I don't know
to back up Tony.
You already have a cerebral guy who's got kind of a very reserved type of personality. You need someone that's a little bit of an opposite of that, or at least a little bit of a dynamic thing, because Mandela's he's not necessarily as passive as Tony, but he's along that same we're all cool, it's all going to be cool kind of thing. And maybe he needs a little bit more of an aggressive, like bulldog type of character, which is why a lot of people have seriously thought of you to be that. But I understand the desire not to run and everything. But I'm saying somebody that can go and speak and talk out.
Well, I'd like
speak to the frustration of the left.
Well, we look at the presidency and we look at the vice presidency and we say, well, the VP's role, at least during the campaign time frame, is to be something of an attack dog for the chief, the commander in chief. And, it maybe doesn't translate exactly to the governor and lieutenant governor, but, a similar role. You got top of the ticket and you got the spare, if you will. Well, Lena Taylor has announced her candidacy to be the spare for Tony Evers. And Tony Evers is pushing 70, and he's not a young man. So Lena Taylor, should she successfully win that role, through the nomination process, and then Tony wins re-election, well, they're a dual ticket. So if Tony wins, she wins. And she becomes the lieutenant governor for, an aging governor here in the state of Wisconsin. And she is then positioned to be the next governor of the state of Wisconsin? Is Lena fit readily in that role? Because I think that's something I spare pack.
I think
square pack.
I get you there. That's why I'm thinking that she'd be more suited to the lieutenant governor rather than the actual governor, because of the role of, kind of being a spokesperson for the situation. She's not, and yes, she is a touch opportunistic. She's run for things when they have come up, and they have, and some she's won, some she's lost, but at least she says a lot of things, but she's also got substance behind it. She's not just a joke. She's a legit politician. She's a legit contender. You may disagree with the way a lot of things. I can understand how people may disagree with some of the things she says or how she says it, but my point is that that's the polar opposite almost of Tony Evers, and you can cover the spectrum of the party by having her involved. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it would broaden the spectrum
for sure,
I would readily grant you.
And
that.
Again, I'm not saying that she's the perfect person. I'm saying someone like her, or if not her, because again, nobody else is saying anything.
I think that the Evers campaign would probably pick a candidate with less baggage, maybe less electoral history, and maybe they wouldn't have started with her, but she's
to
the
do
first
what,
one in the
though?
pool.
Like my point is that if they want someone, what do they want that person to do? They want someone who's new in politics, just kind of sit there on the side and just be pretty and nice. And
Lena Taylor's political record would be eviscerated by the right.
Of course it would be.
Okay, so
but I got news for you, pal. They're going to nail us no matter what we do.
Yeah, but I mean, perhaps with good measure in this case.
I got you.
I think there are plenty of Wisconsinites, including many Democrats, who would say Lena Taylor is not qualified to be the next governor of the state of Wisconsin. And therefore, Tony Evers would be making a mistake if that was his co-pilot, if that was his LT, his spare, if you will. And many of the voters didn't feel like she completed the set. So I think she's a political liability should she win the nomination.
I can understand, but they'd also be spending all their time on her and not, trying to rake Tony over the coals. So again, she can block for you.
Oh, is that what she's doing? Anyways, want to hear from you, our fair audience, our opinions. I got plenty of them. Fancy Brian's got a few himself, but rather hear from you, 844-967-2789. And I'm going to tell you about a Republican dropping out of the AG's race. Didn't even really know why this guy jumped into the race, but let me tell you about the guy that got out. UW-Madison professor Ryan Owens ends his GOP bid for attorney general, and he blames it on other people. They made disgusting false attacks against him, which seemingly are really quite true. But let's see what his crime was. Riley Betterkind at the Wisconsin State Journal, and we'll get your calls in a minute. Be patient. 844-967-2789. UW-Madison professor Ryan Owens ended his Republican bid for attorney general on Monday, capping off roughly 5 months of a campaign. In a statement, Owens, a conservative UW-Madison political science professor who also serves as an affiliate faculty at UW-Madison's law school, said he decided to withdraw from the race due to disgusting false attacks against him. Well, wouldn't you stay in the race and defend your honor?
Yeah.
Here's his statement. The last few weeks have shown me that politics is even more disgusting than I expected.
What were you planning on doing?
Having never run for political office before, I did not fully anticipate how disgusting it would get so quickly. You could be prepped for it, but until it happens to you, you do not know the true impact. I could not have foreseen how much the attacks would affect my family.
His choice happened to him?
Owens called the claims against him wrongheaded and false and said they've taken a toll on his family and especially on his son, who is autistic. I know young Mr. Owens. I've coached him. He's on my son's Special Olympics team. But here's a statement. Because I do not wish to put them through any more character assassinations, I'm withdrawing my candidacy for Attorney General. I understand some will ridicule me for why I'm leaving the race, but this is the truth. And my family has always and will always come first. With Owens out of the race, Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney is currently the only Republican challenging Democratic Attorney General Josh Call, who announced his reelection bid over the summer. Now, what is Owens accused of doing? Really, Better Kind doesn't exactly cover that here in the story, but Owens had done some podcasts, and he apparently is over at the Tommy Thompson Center. And, you know, his crime, at least according to Republicans, was first and foremost being initially supportive of Tony Evers safer at home orders. I know.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
How can you be a lawman and stand for tyranny?
Well, he thought that the initial response of Evers, although he did try to split the incentive in some way, but he thought the initial Evers response was good. Above and beyond that, he made some podcast apparently, and that was also the venue where he, you know, supported Evers in some modest way, but he also crapped on Donald Trump in some earlier podcasts. And then he went online and apparently deleted the podcast. And not only that, but somehow went on the Apple store and got the podcast further deleted, and then had given some implausible explanation that, you know, his subjects of the podcast as history had passed and the topics had become less relevant. You know, he thought it was necessary to expunge the podcast.
That's a good quality to be an attorney general, is to lack the courage of your own convictions. That's important.
Well, in that, the podcast he was making was specifically for the UW, which is a state-funded university. Technically, his erasure of the prior podcasts was an elimination of public records.
Oh, even better.
So the wrong-headed accusations against him, as near as I could tell, is A, overly supportive of Tony Evers, B, the crime of crapping and casting shade upon Donald Trump, and C, which apparently he did, which was eliminate the evidence of some of the prior statements he said that were, you know, politically advantageous. He eliminated the public record of such, and then, you know, went online and double deleted it.
I'm sorry. You should tell your kids that you shouldn't do that. That you shouldn't do that at all. You should maybe have the courage of your own convictions and say what you feel. And then if you change your mind later, say, well, I felt it at the time and I got some different information and now I feel this way.
I think his big complaint, this former candidate for attorney general, he didn't realize if he ran, his actions would be so scrutinized.
Like, how did you, again, aren't you going to run to be attorney general? Don't you have
top cop in the state of Wisconsin, as they call it?
Isn't that like, don't you have to know things like possibly that there's a really good chance that, I don't know, your personal past might be gone through. And if you have any recordings on there, they might be sifted through.
If he didn't know, he should just look at the example of Peg Lautenschlager. She obviously had a bad night that she never lived down. 844-967-2789. Our pal Betsy. Welcome back, sister. What do you got for us?
What's that? Fancy Brian's running for lieutenant governor?
That would be my first choice.
Let's
How about
go.
yours,
I'll do
Betsy?
it. Let's go, guys.
Somebody's trying to steal Fancy Brian away. That's what I got to smell up today.
Betsy, I could tell you
I'll-
this. I could be the lieutenant governor and Amy would still not know.
It wouldn't keep him from his duties here on the greatest radio show ever, and that there are no specific constitutional duties. If you get elected lieutenant governor, you are literally there to be the spare.
So right now I'm doing the constitutional duties of the future lieutenant governor.
Very, very seldom or very similar. My bad.
Well,
Who do you like other than Fancy Brian? Is there a politician that you think could buttress up our pal Tony Evers?
Kathleen Vinehouse.
Oh,
Kathleen Vinehouse. God, would I love her back. Yep. I
very
miss that
astute lady. I always like Kathleen, and she was always prepared. She has been out on the gubernatorial campaign, I think, twice. I think she ran when the recall election happened. Maybe I'm confusing her with Kathleen Falk. Maybe I'm wrong on the recall, but I felt like she ran even back then. And of course, she was certainly a candidate in the 2018 race, although she didn't beat Evers. She left her state office. And I would say of all the Democrats I miss, Betsy, that have kind of stepped away, she's probably front and center. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. Although Lena Taylor, she can take the heat. Don't worry about that lady.
Oh, she can hand it out too.
Mm-hmm. Well, mightn't have to have it. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see Patrick Teston, I'm not even sure if they'll do any sort of lieutenant gubernatorial debates. Ultimately it's the top of the ticket. It'll be Tony versus probably Rebecca Clayfish, although, who knows, a lot can happen in a year. But, whoever is on the ticket as the lieutenant governor, I don't recall Mandela ever debating Rebecca Clayfish. Do you?
No. You know what? It's a joke, but it's not funny. Serious stuff. Republicans don't like to play nice. That's all I gotta say.
Well, Betsy, you've said plenty for now. Always got to worry about you going full pled, Betsy. Rebecca Clayfish. I look forward to the future debates between Rebecca Clayfish and Tony Evers. I think there probably will be head-to-head debates between those two candidates, at least two. Tony benefited from the Friday night debate and ran, I think, against the Brewer game, or maybe it was the Packer family night or something, a preseason game. I mean, I didn't think Tony was a strong debater, but Scott Walker, he's just going to come out there and lie through his teeth.
Well, now all he has to do is say Foxconn, Foxconn, Foxconn. They're in Ohio now.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We're right here on your radio dial.
And Republicans done something remarkable.
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
I don't even know my own website address.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm back on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash. I'm having a brand new cocktail you just have to try. It's called Divide and Concord. It features Rocker vodka along with Concord grape, thyme, St. Elizabeth's dram, and a touch of lemon lime. Ask for it by name, Divide and Concord at Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Find Rocker vodka and Rocker rye whiskey at Vic Pierce on Sherman Avenue. Please drink responsibly.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me this week for my special guest, Janet Bewley. See you then.
A progressive voice in rural Wisconsin, WTTN 1580 AM is South Central Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I think we've got some good news to end the day. Wolf hunt quotas right here in the great state of Wisconsin are being reduced by the Department of Natural Resources. Chris Hubach reporting over at the Wisconsin State Journal Online. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources will limit the number of wolves that can be killed this year to less than half of what was approved by the agency's policy board. The DNR said Monday it set the quota for the November 6 hunting season at 130 wolves, the number agency officials initially recommended before the National Resources Board voted in August to set the quota at 300. In a statement, the DNR said state law authorizes the agencies to make the final decision when setting the quota, which was based on the best available information and scientific modeling, as well as input from the Wolf Harvest Committee, the Natural Resources Board, and many other groups and members of the public who provided comments to the department and the board. The 130 wolf quota was set based on the most reliable population modeling available and a goal of maintaining a stable wolf population, according to a staff memo. In accordance with the 19th century treaties, state licensed hunters will be allowed to kill 74 wolves. 56 will be set aside for the Ojibwe tribes, which have been in the past years chosen to protect their share. What that means is effectively they don't kill wolves. The Ojibwe don't. They see them as sort of brothers in nature.
Yeah, they're apex predators, and they keep the deer populations down as well, which is probably why they want to kill them.
The DNR plans to issue 370 licenses through a lottery system. Licenses go on sale this month, October 25th. And the Natural Resources Board Chair, Fred Preen, the guy that won't leave, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Monday's announcement comes days after 6 Ojibwe tribes asked a federal judge to halt the fall hunt while the courts considered their lawsuit challenging the board's quota. In a request for an injunction, the tribes anticipated the DNR staff might modify the board's quota, which could result in another legal challenge from the hunting groups. The tribes say could result in a rush court-ordered hunt like the one in February when state licensed hunters killed at least 218 wolves, more than the state and tribal quotas combined. The tribe says the Natural Resources Board's decision was a deliberate move to nullify the tribe's share and accuse the DNR of ignoring sound biological principles and mismanaging natural resources in violation of 1837 and 1842 treaties with the U.S. government that give the tribes half of any resources harvested from the ceded territory, which covers roughly the northern third of the state. A spokesperson for Earth Justice, which is representing the tribes, did not immediately respond with comment Monday, and a coalition of wildlife advocacy groups also sued in state court to halt the fall hunt and void the 2011 law requiring the state to allow hunting from November through February whenever wolves are not on the endangered species list. One of the groups, Animal Wellness Action, decried the DNR's new quota as too high and said Wisconsin should follow Minnesota and Michigan, which are not allowing hunting and trapping this year. Wisconsin's wildlife management plans are broken and scientifically unjustifiable, said Paul Collins, state director for Animal Wellness Action. The DNR's lower quota is not as extreme as the NRB's plan, but this kill level cannot be justified either. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service removed them in January. I guess that's delisted wolves. The DNR was preparing to hold a hunt beginning in November of 2021, but the Kansas-based hunter advocacy group sued, and a Jefferson County judge ordered the department to hold the season in 5 days of February, later than any previously sanctioned hunt, right in the middle of the breeding season. So that worked out so well for the wolves, all things considered. They blew right through the quotas. And I would
almost
wonder
in a
if they're
day or two
issuing
ridiculous.
72 hours, something like that. And if they're issuing 300 licenses, aren't they also potentially setting ourselves up, the state of Wisconsin, up for, blowing through the quota limits again?
Once again, yep.
Just wondering. Also, saw another headline at the Journal Sentinel today. This one a little more troubling. The Badgers, the Badgers are struggling. Do you see they gave their coach a big raise right before the season?
Oh, good for them.
Paul Christ, who has been anything but dynamic this year. I'm not a big fan of the Paul Christ, and maybe it started when he was first announced as the Badger football coach, and Scott Walker came out and addressed Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, and Coach Chris came immediately thereafter. And I found it troubling, just the fact that it seemed as if he was there in a political position. And Coach Chris at the time didn't make any sort of political speech. Walker certainly did. And all the people that came after him certainly did. But I always wondered about the wisdom of taking that invitation from Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. Here is the story briefly. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Walker has been said that he hates state employees, except for the ones that get paid a lot.
Well, I think Paul Christ has got to be the highest paid state employee in the state of Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin football coach Paul Christ got a raise before the season, and he took his compensation. Oh, that took his compensation to more than $5 million. That's per year. Chris was scheduled to make $4.35 million this season, an agreement reached in 2019. But he's got $100,000 escalator per year. Not a bad raise system, extra $8,000 a month every year. I like that plan. I want that pay plan. The UW Board of Regents approved the new deal, which pays Christ $5.25 million this year. It closed on September 1st. That was 3 days before the Badgers opened the season with the home loss to Penn State. UW provided the contract Monday in response to public records request that was filed the day of the meeting. The Badgers have started the season 1-3, including back-to-back losses against Notre Dame and Michigan in the last 2 weeks. I noticed athletic director Chris McIntosh said the agreement originally was scheduled to be taken to the Regents in 2020 after the UW won the Big Ten West and played in the Rose Bowl the previous season. The COVID-19 pandemic halted things, McIntosh said. Christ and others amongst the highest paid UW athletics employees took a 15% pay cut last year to help offset revenue losses during the pandemic. That totaled a loss of more than $600,000 for Chris, McIntosh said. It's hard to imagine having a better partner than Coach Christ and working through all the challenges of COVID. He's been patient. Well, the fans are going to have to be patient. Coach Christ, you better start winning, man.
Win or lose, I just want to say that, whenever somebody complains about, state employees or anything like that, I never see them leading with get rid of the head football coach, because that's the largest state employee in pretty much any state. And if you got rid of Christ, you could actually hire about over 100 people at $20 an hour to work for anything you wanted to do in the state. But at least one person gets to have that.
Well, but he's the most important employee in the state of Wisconsin. He's the football coach. But when your team's 1-3, you better do better. Thank you all for listening to the Devil's Advocate. Stick around. Our buddy Earl Ingram's next, the Native Roots Radio. Keep it locked. Devil Radio 92.7. Thanks for listening.
Good work. Sleep well. I most likely kill you in the morning.
We're like the stupid people.